Chapter 202. When Wang Shi heard this, she hesitated again and said, "You're right. There's no reason for our Shi family's daughter to become someone's concubine. Her mother isn't here anymore. How could she be so mischievous and talkative? Would she think that I, her legitimate mother, was being mean to her on purpose? But since the Hong family is so polite, it doesn't seem right to reject them, right?" Sangwon said, "Marriage is a matter of mutual consent, so it's fine to reject them. Moreover, they're asking for a concubine, not a wife. Even if we reject them, I'm sure old Mistress Hong will understand." Wang nodded slowly but did not say a word. Sangwon did not dare to say more and smiled. "This daughter-in-law is just being ignorant. Mother, if I'm wrong, please don't take it to heart. Why don't we wait for young master to come back and discuss it with him again?" Wang liked to hear those words. Seeing that Sangwon still cared about Shi Fengju, Wang smiled and said, "That's right, we should listen to Shi Fengju's opinion on such a big matter. He's the clearest about what's going on outside." "Mother is right." Sangwon smiled and said a few words before taking her leave. Stepping out of the main courtyard, Sangwon let out a long sigh and felt a little depressed. Wang did not seem to reject this marriage. Shi Lian was a concubine's daughter, so it was not a disgrace for her to marry the official's son as a concubine. However, that person was rude to her and tried to take liberties with her. With this layer of knot, if she married into the family in the future, would that young Master Hong be nice to her? Even Shi Lian herself would not be able to live with that in her life. She had suffered a great misfortune in her marriage and knew that marrying the wrong person was the greatest tragedy in the world. She did not even think about it and tactfully rejected the marriage in front of her mother-in-law, but Sangwon's heart suddenly skipped a beat. She suddenly realized that even though she said that, Shi Lian did not know what she meant. Perhaps Shi Lian felt that the Hong family standards were too high and was willing to marry into the Hong family? Sangwon hesitated for a moment before leading her men to Fu Chu Pavilion. Shi Lian's heart calmed down a little. When she heard that her sister-in-law had come, she knew that she came from her mother's place. She hurriedly went to greet her. After the two of them entered the room, Sangwon gestured for the maids to leave and tactfully told Shi Lian about the marriage proposal from the Hong family. Before she could finish, Shi Lian's face turned pale as if she had lost her soul. She knelt beside Sangwon and grabbed her sleeve as if she was clutching at a life-saving straw. "Sister-in-law, I don't want to. Please help me, sister-in-law. I would rather marry into a small family, or not marry for the rest of my life and become a sister-in-law than marry that lecher. Sister-in-law, I beg you. Quickly get up." Seeing her in such despair, Sangwon could not help but feel sad. She leaned over to help her up and told her about what she said in front of Wang Shi. She sighed, "You and I have always gotten along well, and I have a rough understanding of your character. Initially, I felt that that person was rude and was afraid that he might not have any good intentions in marrying you, so I tried to dissuade Mother from marrying you. I didn't expect you to have no such intentions. But you should also understand that Mother is the one who can make the decision. If Mother has made up her mind, I can't say anything." Shi Lian's tears flowed endlessly as she begged her sister-in-law to help her. She naturally understood this, but in this family, the only one who was willing to speak up for her was Sangwon. When it came to marriage, there was no place for her to speak. "I know that sister-in-law has always been good to me. Shi Lian is already very grateful that sister-in-law is willing to help me. No matter what, Shi Lian will not blame sister-in-law. She will only be grateful. I beg sister-in-law, please help me again. Shi Lian has no way to repay you. I can only pray for sister-in-law for the rest of my life. I beg the gods to bless sister-in-law and big brother to grow old together and have a long and happy life." "Silly girl, don't say that." Sangwon lifted her handkerchief to wipe her tears. She forced a smile and said, "Things haven't reached that point yet. Don't worry, silly girl. Don't you still have your big brother? Mother has always listened to your big brother's words." Shi Lian's eyes lit up. She held Sangwon's hand and said gratefully, "Sister-in-law, thank you." If she wanted her big brother to speak up for her, she naturally could not ask him. She could only ask Sang-won to ask for her. Don't worry, Sang-won gently patted her hand and said softly, I told you this because I wanted to see your attitude and also to let you know what to do. Third sister, you must not act rashly to avoid making a fool of yourself, okay? Just pretend that you don't know. Your big brother will help you with the rest. And Shi Lian nodded again and again. Sang-won comforted her with a few more words, then got up and left. How could Shi Lian remain calm when it was a matter of life and death? After Sang-won left, she cried silently for a long time. When Kai-yun heard about it, she was also stunned and felt sad with her. Young miss, Kai-yun suddenly thought of Sang Yufei and said in a low voice, why don't you tell young mistress about the matter between you and second Uncle Sang? This way, young mistress may do her best to help you. Absolutely not. Shi Lian's face changed greatly. She didn't even care about crying anymore. With a straight face, she said to Kai-yun, this matter absolutely cannot be done. You must not act rashly. Sister-in-law has always treated me well. If she can help me, she will definitely help me. If you tell her about this matter, I'm afraid that it will make things worse. Young miss. Kai-yun was puzzled. Shi Lian let out a long sigh and said with a bitter smile, what kind of status does Sang have? I'm just a lowly concubine's daughter. If sister-in-law knows about us, will she still help me? Kai-yun's face changed greatly and she blurted out, then what if second Uncle Sang has a change of heart? He won't. Shi Lian shook her head. He won't have a change of heart for me. If he really does, then I can only blame myself for choosing the wrong person. Kai-yun lowered her head and didn't say anything. In the evening, Shi Fengju came back from the business. Sang-won greeted him with a smile and took off his cloak and outer robe for him. She took the soft silk robe from a servant and helped him wear it. Then, she helped him wash his hands and face. After that, he sat down in a warm room and was served tea. Shi Fengju always had a smile on his face as he let her serve him. He chatted with her and listened to her soft voice. Now that he came back from the business every day, he liked to spend time with her like this. Every time at this time, he felt that he really had a family and a wife who cared about him. Did you miss me, En? After dismissing the servants, Shi Fengju smiled and pulled his wife into his embrace. There was no lack of intimacy between them. You don't have anything new to say. Aren't you tired of asking me this every day? Sang-won smiled and lightly punched him. Shi Fengju smiled. He held her slender white fingers and gently kissed them. How could I be tired? I just like to hear you say that you missed me. Won Yang, I think about you all the time. Sang-won's face became hot and she gently hit him. She took back her hand and struggled to get out of his arms. She smiled and said, are you tired? I'll help you massage it to loosen it up. It's time for dinner. Shi Fengju smiled and agreed. He leaned back on the chair behind him. Sang-won stood behind him and gently massaged his shoulders and neck. Shi Fengju sighed comfortably. He closed his eyes and relaxed his body, allowing her to serve him. After a while, Luya asked through the curtain if dinner was ready. Sang-won replied and smiled as she pushed Shi Fengju up. Shi Fengju stretched his shoulders and neck. He stood up and hugged Sang-won. He smiled and said, my Won Yang is still the best. I feel so relaxed. Let's go to bed early tonight, okay? As he said the last sentence, he moved closer to her ambiguously. Sang-won's face became hot. She glanced at him and said, eldest young master, did you read the account books last night? It's just the beginning of the year, so there should be a lot of things going on in the business. Shi Fengju smiled. With the shopkeepers around, there's no need for me to do anything. I just want to accompany my Won Yang. Sang-won didn't say anything. She pulled him out for dinner. Shi Fengju's lips curled up. He looked at her with eyes full of love. After dinner, the two of them stood in the corridor to admire the flowers and digest their food. Not long after, Shi Fengju urged the maids to prepare hot water for a bath. By the time the two of them finished bathing and drying their hair, the sky had already darkened. Shi Fengju complained that he was tired from the day. He pulled his wife into the room to rest. After closing the door, he couldn't help but kiss her intimately. Sang-won couldn't exert any strength in his kisses. Her half-hearted resistance aroused his interest even more. Won-young, are you tired? After cleaning up, Shi Fengju lay down and pulled his wife, whose face was still red, into his arms. He gently kissed her face, eyes, eyebrows, and nose. He felt that the woman beside him was unspeakably pitiful and cute. Sang-won was still thinking about Shi Lian's matter. She originally wanted to tell him tonight, but who knew that this person would pull her to do this so quickly? She didn't have a chance to speak at all. It seemed a bit inappropriate to mention such a disappointing matter to him at this time. But if she didn't mention it, who knew what would happen tomorrow? If her mother-in-law made up her mind and agreed, wouldn't it be too late to mention it? Sang-won was lost in her thoughts when she suddenly felt a slight pain on her fingertips. She looked down and saw that her annoying husband was holding her finger and biting it. At this time, he was looking at her with a smile. Sang-won couldn't help but be angry. She pulled her hand back and glared at him. She said angrily, "Are you a dog? Biting people at the slightest provocation." Shi Fengju chuckled and kissed her on the lips that were full of complaints. "Who asked you to be so lost in thought?" Chapter 203. Stop fooling around. Stop fooling around. Sang-won couldn't stand his fooling around. She hurriedly laughed and blocked him, complaining, "My body is still sore and I don't have any strength. Why are you still fooling around?" Shi Fengju pinched her waist and hugged her. He smiled and said, "Who told you to be absent-minded beside me?" "How am I absent-minded?" Sang-won raised her eyebrows. Shi Fengju looked down at her and said with a smile, "Silly Won-young, you and I are husband and wife who share the same bed. How can you hide it from me? Is there something in your heart?" Sang-won's eyes darkened when she heard him ask. She sighed and said, "There is something, but don't get angry when I tell you." Shi Fengju saw that her expression didn't seem to be fake, so he quickly put on a serious expression. He thought that she had been wronged again, so he gently coaxed her, making Sang-won feel like crying for a while. After Sang-won finished talking about today's matter, Shi Fengju's face suddenly became as dark as the bottom of a pot. That Hong family brat is so shameless. He actually dared to come and beg third sister to be his concubine. "Lower your voice." Sang-won shook him lightly and sighed. "Who knows what they are thinking? Anyway, someone from the Hong residence did come today. Mother seems to be quite interested." "You see, of course not." Shi Fengju said coldly, "That Hong she might not have been with his father for half a year, but he's a well-known debauchee in Qingzhou. He spends his days fighting cocks, riding horses, and seeking prostitutes. He's not a decent person. How can third sister be with such a person? It will ruin her life. I think mother is really muddle-headed. How would mother know what is going on outside? Isn't it all because of the Hong family's exaggeration? Tomorrow, you'll just have to persuade mother." Sang-won saw that Shi Fengju was also against it, and the stone in her heart fell to the ground. "Of course. Our family doesn't need to use a girl's life in exchange for benefits. Third sister is still my sister. How can I bear to see her jump into the fire pit? Besides, third sister had rejected Hong Shi that day at the Plum Blossom Forest. If she really fell into Hong Shi's hands, then her life would definitely not be easy. I won't let that happen." Sang-won happily said, "I'm relieved to hear that. Today, I went to see third sister. Seeing her crying like that, I felt really bad." Shi Fengju couldn't help but look at her a few more times. He smiled and said, "Third sister is closer to you than other people, but I didn't see you two being so close. I didn't expect you to be so concerned about her." Sang-won glanced at him and faintly said, "How can you men understand a woman's difficulties? It's true that she and I have a good relationship, and secondly, it touched my heart. How could a woman's marriage be decided by herself? If she marries a good man, then she can live a peaceful life. If she marries a bad man, then she can only endure it day by day. What else can she do? I just can't bear to see such a good girl fall into the hands of such an indecent person and suffer endless pain in the future. Shi Fengju was silent for a moment. After a while, he softly mocked himself. Wan Yang, do you still have resentment in your heart? Do you resent me for being too heartless to you? Sang Wan regretted her slip of the tongue. She hurriedly shook her head with a smile. I don't mean to resent you, I'm just lamenting for a moment. Even at that time, you took good care of me. Wan Yang. Shi Fengju didn't wait for her to finish speaking. He hugged her tightly in his arms and caressed her face as he softly said, I'm sorry. Sang Wan was stunned for a moment. She stared blankly at him. Shi Fengju smiled and said, You're innocent. I shouldn't have resented you at that time. Don't be angry, okay? Sang Wan's eyes were a little wet. She hurriedly avoided his gaze. She buried her head in his chest and said in a low voice, Don't say that. Husband, aren't we fine now? I'm not angry. I'm really not. Really? Shi Fengju softly laughed. He lifted her chin and chuckled. If you're not angry, then kiss me. I'll believe you. Really, nothing good came out of every 3 sentences. Sang Wan saw his burning eyes staring at her, so she could only raise her head slightly and give him a peck on his cheek. Shi Fengju's eyes lit up. He softly laughed and said, This doesn't count. You have to kiss here to count. He pointed to his mouth as he spoke. Who said it doesn't count? You didn't say it doesn't count just now. Sang Wan refused. She smiled and turned her head away. Shi Fengju suddenly held her head and turned her around. He fiercely kissed her lips. He flipped over and covered her smooth and warm body. The two of them kissed until they were almost out of breath. He breathlessly laughed and said, Wan Yang, do you remember? Only like this will it count. Sang Wan's small red lips were slightly open as she gasped for breath. She looked at him with watery eyes. How could she say anything? Shi Fengju looked at the woman beneath him. Her skin was moist and flushed. Her eyes were misty and had a hint of spring in them. Her cloud-like hair was scattered messily on the pillow. A few strands of hair swept across her snow-white neck and shoulders. Her small red lips were charming. How could he hold himself back? He called out in a hoarse voice, Wan Yang. He kissed her and forcefully parted her legs. Then, he straightened his body and entered her. The two of them let out a low groan and hugged each other. The next day, when he went to pay his respects to Wang, Shi Fengju didn't wait for Wang to ask him about yesterday's matter. Shi Fengju naturally didn't agree. He stopped Wang with a few words. When Wang heard her son say the same thing, she gave up the idea. Shi Fengju got up and said goodbye. He was going to the business. While Shi Fengju and Wang were talking in the inner room, Shi Yumei happened to come to pay her respects to Wang. She happened to overhear their conversation at the door. After Shi Fengju left, Shi Yumei hurried in and curiously asked Wang what had happened. How could Wang hide it from her own daughter? She said it casually. Shi Yumei was excited when she heard it. She hurriedly said, Mother, this is a good marriage. Why didn't you agree? Shi Yumei naturally knew that this wasn't a good marriage. However, she didn't like Shi Lian and her mother since she was a child. She always felt that they had stolen her father. When her father was alive, he often praised Shi Lian for being sensible, but he never praised her. He scolded her many times, saying that she was unruly, overbearing, irritable, unreasonable, unladylike, and so on. In short, he never said anything good about her. Of course, she wanted Shi Lian to be unlucky. In addition, she didn't want Shi Lian to marry into a good family. She wanted Shi Lian to marry into a worse family than her. Only then would she be happy. With Shi Lian's quiet personality, it would be strange if she didn't get tortured to death in the future. What's so good about it? Wang waved her hand and said, Our family's daughter doesn't need to be a concubine. If others find out, they will say that I, as a legal mother, mistreat a concubine's daughter. Your mother's good reputation can't be ruined because of this. How is this mistreatment? Sure, Yu Mei retorted. He's the son of the prefectural magistrate's first wife, a proper official's family. Not to mention a concubine's daughter. Even a legal daughter from an ordinary family wouldn't be humiliated to be a concubine. If she isn't a good person, he might not even want her. In my opinion, this marriage is quite good. Besides, he is the prefectural magistrate, and our Shi family is the #1 household in Qingzhou. With this marriage, there will be many benefits in the future. We can also help Fengju, so that he won't have to work so hard. Wang couldn't help but waver after hearing her daughter's words. She was moved by her daughter's words. Yes, if the two families were to be married, they would be one family. In the future, the prefectural magistrate would definitely take care of them. If the Zhuang family wants to surpass them, they'll have to wait until their next life. But Fengju and Wan Yang both said that this marriage isn't good, I think. Mother, was it Fengju or Sangwan who said it first? Shi Yu Mei interrupted. Wang said, Wan Yang knew about it yesterday, and Fengju only said it when he came to pay his respects. That's right. Shi Yu Mei clapped her hands and said, Mother, it's not like you don't know how much Fengju treasures Sangwan. It must be Sangwan who instigated him to object. Sangwan's words, he's more obedient than an imperial edict. It's just a sentence. No matter what Sangwan says, he'll still do it. Nonsense. Wang couldn't help but feel a little jealous and frowned. How is Fengju such an opinionated person? Besides, why would Wan Yang instigate him for no reason? If the marriage between the two families is beneficial to our family, wouldn't Wan Yang want our family to be better? She's our family's daughter-in-law, and the future mistress of the family. It's still too early for her to become the mistress of the family, at least a few decades later. That's why she's making plans as soon as possible. Shi Yu Mei made a solemn vow. Wang was confused. What do you mean? Shi Yu Mei sneered. Mother, don't forget, isn't Sangwan's second brother going to the capital to take the imperial examinations? If everything goes well, he'll be an official no matter what. Mother, think about it. If her brother becomes an official, her position in our family will be even more secure. But if we were to have this marriage with the prefect, we won't have to rely on the Sang family in the future. We can just look for the prefect to solve the problem. In that case, wouldn't the importance of the Sang family be highlighted, and her position in our family wouldn't be that important? Sangwan is a smart person, so of course she wouldn't be happy to see that happen. Thus, if she were to ruin the marriage between our family and the prefect, our family would have to rely on the Sang family in the future. That's exactly what she's planning. When Wang Shi heard this, she opened her mouth but could not say anything for a long time. If Sangwan was here to hear this, she would definitely gasp in amazement and admiration. To be able to say such far-fetched words so clearly and logically, it was really worth it to say, admiration. She's actually so scheming? Wang couldn't remain calm, and her heart was in a mess. Her daughter's words had really frightened her. Wang had lived for most of her life, and she had never used any schemes. Hearing her daughter's words now, she felt her hair stand on end, as if she was raising a vicious monster by her side. Mother, don't you always praise her for being smart? Shi Yu Mei sneered. A woman who's educated is naturally different from us. Mother, in any case, I think this marriage is very suitable. It's suitable for third sister, and it's also very suitable for our family. If we miss this opportunity, there won't be another one. Mother, you have to quickly make a decision. Chapter 204. I'll think about it again. Wang held her forehead. After a moment, she asked again, Do you think Fengju really said that because of Wan Yang's instigation? Of course. Shi Yu Mei said, Just now, I heard you and Fengju talking at the door. Fengju didn't sound surprised at all when he heard you talk about it, so Sangwan must have told him. Think about it. Did he think carefully before answering you, or did he just say it out loud? Wang thought about it, but she couldn't figure out the situation. One moment, she felt that her son said it out loud, but the next moment, she felt that he had thought it through. Because of Shi Yumei's words, the first thought gradually gained the upper hand. The more she thought about it, the more she felt that it was true. I'll make the decision on this marriage, so I'll agree to it. Wang raised her eyebrows and said seriously, Mother, you're so wise. Shi Yumei clapped her hands and smiled. From now on, our family will be relatives of the prefectural magistrate. Let's see who dares to look down on us. If we don't agree and offend the prefectural magistrate, he'll blame us for not knowing how to appreciate his kindness. Or if the Zhuang and Yong families find out, they'll rush to send their daughters over, and will suffer a great loss. That's right, that's right. You're right. Wang was surprised and felt lucky. Without waiting for 3 days, she ordered Nanny Jiang to go to the Hong family and agree to the marriage. Nanny Jiang felt that it wasn't appropriate. Although she was going to be a concubine, the Shi family was still a respectable family. It wasn't good to rush the man. Moreover, there were only 2 days left. Wouldn't it pass in the blink of an eye? Nanny Jiang smiled tactfully and persuaded her. However, Shi Yumei said, Nanny, this is a joyous occasion. Of course, it's better to do it as soon as possible. Only then can we show our sincerity. They're from an official's family, so there's nothing wrong with us taking the initiative. Don't tell me we're waiting for them to come and help us. Besides, we're not marrying a wife, so there's nothing wrong with etiquette. Others won't say anything. Yumei is right. Go quickly. Speak properly when you see him. Don't lose our family's dignity. Wang also said. Nanny Jiang had no choice but to agree and go prepare. When Madame Hong saw Nanny Jiang in person, she naturally agreed with a smile. She immediately ordered someone to take a look at the yellow slip. The 16th day of the second lunar month was a good day for marriage. Therefore, she picked this day and ordered Nanny Jiang to reply to Wang. Nanny Jiang agreed and went back to work. Madame Hong immediately sent someone to call Magistrate Hong over and proudly told him about this matter. She said with a smile, See, am I wrong? Such a good marriage was hard to find. The Shi family was not stupid. How could they let it go? Why didn't they send someone to tell me about it? Magistrate Hong was also surprised, but he was naturally happy to see this result. He couldn't help but praise his wife with a smile. Then, he gritted his teeth and said hatefully, From tomorrow onwards, you'd better keep that bastard in check. Don't let him go out again. The Shi family is the richest family in Qingzhou. We have to give them some face. If that bastard makes any more trouble and loses face, I won't let him off. Understood, old master. How can our son be so inconsiderate? Madame Hong was dissatisfied and the joy in her heart was instantly reduced by half. Nanny Jiang replied to Wang and told her the date of the wedding. Wang did not care about it. Anyway, she was going to be a concubine. There was nothing to prepare. There was still plenty of time, so she nodded and ordered Nanny Jiang to reply to the Hong family. This matter was set in stone. After that, Wang ordered someone to call Sang Wan and Shi Lian over. Of course, this matter should be prepared by Sang Wan. As the person involved, Shi Lian should also inform her and let her prepare early. She was afraid that there was no time to embroider the wedding dress. Let the embroiderer in the embroidery workshop finish it and let her add a few stitches. Sang Wan and Shi Lian listened to Wang's words and their faces changed. Sang Wan sent someone not long ago to tell Shi Lian to rest assured that Shi Fengju had already convinced Wang. But in just half a day, the situation had completely changed. Sang Wan was shocked and felt very embarrassed. She could not help but look at Shi Lian. Shi Lian also looked at her. Her face was so pale that there was no trace of blood, and her whole body was cold. Girls will have such a day. There is nothing to be ashamed of. Okay, third girl, you go back and wait for the wedding. You don't have to come over to greet me these days. If you want anything, go back and write a list and tell your sister-in-law. As for whether she would give it or not, of course, it was up to her, the mother, to decide. As long as her request was not excessive, Wang would not refuse. Mother. Shi Lian suddenly knelt down and kowtowed to Wang. She raised her head and was about to cry. She opened her mouth and wanted to say something. Sangwon saw that things were going to get worse. She hurriedly said before her sister, "Third sister, thank mother for raising you and quickly go back. Don't cry. You can't cry when it's a happy occasion." Sangwon said and secretly winked at Shirlien. Shirlien's words that were stopped by Sangwon in time were just a moment of impulse. Now that she came back to her senses, she was so shocked that she broke out in a cold sweat. She naturally knew her official mother's temper. Even if she was her biological daughter, there was no reason for her to contradict her mother face to face for her own marriage, not to mention a layer of separation. If Sangwon had not stopped her just now, she could not imagine what would have happened after she begged to be rejected. Yes. Shirlien kowtowed again with tears in her eyes and got up to leave. Wang's originally somewhat doubtful expression also relaxed. She frowned and said, "Really? I really don't know what she's doing." She then turned back and instructed Sangwon to handle this matter. It was nothing more than to not lose the face of the Shi family and to make sure everything was done properly. Sangwon agreed with a smile and said with a smile, "Today, daughter-in-law will go back and draft a proposal with Mama Lee and the rest. I will come back tomorrow morning." "Then go." Wang nodded. Sangwon went to Shirlien's place on the way. Shirlien was lying on the bed in silent pain. Kai Yun was standing by the side and wiping her tears. When she saw Sangwon coming in, she was shocked and was about to say something. Sangwon waved her hand and pointed outside, ordering her to leave. Kai Yun glanced at her young miss and silently retreated. "Third sister," Sangwon gently patted Shirlien's back and said softly, "Don't cry. If mother knows, I'm afraid there will be another storm." "Sister-in-law." Shirlien's twitching shoulders stiffened slightly. She leaned over and wiped her tears. "I'm not afraid to tell the truth to sister-in-law. At this point, what else do I have to worry about? If she knows, then so be it. What can she do to me? Don't say things out of anger." Sangwon held her hand and sighed. "It's really strange. Before your eldest brother left the Fu, he clearly asked someone to tell me that mother has agreed to refuse this marriage. How come in the blink of an eye, even the date has been set? This is really... How could the two of them know that it was Shi Yumei's doing?" Shirlien also shook her head and choked with sobs. "I also don't know the truth. How can it be like this? In any case, I won't marry. At worst, I will die rather than suffer that kind of punishment." "Don't talk nonsense." Sangwon was shocked and held her hand tightly. "Sister-in-law," Shirlien smiled and said gratefully, "I know that sister-in-law and eldest brother have done their best for me." Shirlien is still grateful to them. "Maybe this is my fate. In the end, I can't fight for it." Sangwon couldn't help but feel sad. After a moment, she said, "Don't think like that. Things haven't reached that point yet. Good sister, don't do stupid things, okay? When your eldest brother comes back tonight, I will discuss it with him." "There's no need." Shirlien smiled bitterly and said, "Mother has already decided on the date with the Hong family. The other party is also the official in charge of this area. The matter has already been settled. How can eldest brother say anything? Sister-in-law, I am already very grateful for your kindness. I don't want you and eldest brother to be unhappy because of my matter. Please don't tell eldest brother about it. No matter what, you are still his sister. Your eldest brother won't watch you jump into the fire pit without doing anything. Third sister, promise me that before this matter reaches that point, you have to be good and don't do stupid things, okay?" Sangwon's heart was filled with mixed feelings. Didn't she have the same feelings on the eve of her marriage? No one could understand that kind of fear and uneasiness unless they experienced it themselves. Now, Shirlien was already a concubine. The other party was also that kind of person. A few days ago, they even had a conflict. The situation was much worse than hers. Shirlien looked at her caring words and gentle eyes. Her heart warmed and she couldn't help but nod. "That's right. Have a good rest. Don't cry." It will be troublesome if someone sees you. Sang-won secretly heaved a sigh of relief. After persuading Shi Lian for a while more, she got up and left. Shi Lian thought about Sang-won's words and ordered Kai Yun to fetch water to wash her face. Just as she finished washing up, Shi Yumei called out, "Third sister," and stepped in with a smile. Shi Lian was so shocked that she broke out in a cold sweat. She thought to herself, "Thank goodness I cleaned up properly. Otherwise, if she saw me, she would definitely spread rumors in front of her mother. Then, I won't be able to live comfortably for the next few days." Shi Yumei came in with a smile and a lot of congratulations. She praised this marriage as if Shi Lian was the one who got a big advantage and should be grateful to Wang. Shi Lian was extremely disgusted, but she did not dare to deal with Gu Yumei on the surface. She forced a smile and responded to her every now and then. Shi Yumei wanted to see her bitter face. Seeing her indifferent expression, as if she didn't mind, she felt a little uncomfortable. She opened her eyes and carefully looked at Shi Lian's face. "Big sister, is there something on my face?" Shi Lian subconsciously leaned back and asked with a smile. "No," Shi Yumei said with a smile. "I see that your eyes are a little red and swollen. Did you cry just now?" "Big sister, what are you talking about?" Shi Lian was shocked and said hurriedly, "Why would I cry out of nowhere?" Shi Yumei sneered, "Who knows? Maybe you're not satisfied with the marriage that mother arranged for you." Shi Lian was annoyed, but she smiled faintly and said, "Marriage has always been decided by parents since ancient times. Now that father is gone, mother will make plans for me. How can I be so ungrateful? How can I be dissatisfied with such a good marriage? It's good that you know." Shi Yumei was a little resentful and felt more and more bored. She sat for a while and then left. Chapter 205. I've never seen an older sister like this. Kai Yun could not help but say behind her back, "She can't wait for everyone in the world to marry as badly as her." "Missy, don't be sad. No matter how bad the new son-in-law is, he's still better than the eldest son-in-law. It's ridiculous that old mistress picked so many people for eldest Missy, but in the end, she chose such an unpresentable one." Without waiting for Kai Yun to finish, Shi Lian quickly stopped her and said with a frown, "You don't want to live anymore, how can you say such things? If anyone hears you, your tongue will be pulled out." Kai Yun was startled and said softly, "This servant is just angry. I only said it to Missy in private. How would I dare to say it outside? The walls have ears, you're not allowed to say it anymore, understand?" "Yes, Missy." Kai Yun agreed unhappily. Suddenly, her eyes lit up and she approached Shi Lian. "Missy, do you think eldest Missy said something in front of old mistress?" Shi Lian was shocked and her expression changed greatly. Her sister-in-law had no reason to lie to her, and such a lie could not be concealed. If she said it like that, wouldn't she be embarrassing herself in the future? It could be seen that her mother had indeed dropped the matter. In the blink of an eye, her attitude changed greatly. Someone must have said something to her. In this household, other than her eldest brother, there were only two people who had the ability to do so. One was her cousin, Gu Fengzi, but she was now bedridden. The other was her eldest sister. Since her eldest sister had intervened, it seemed that this matter could no longer be changed. Shi Lian's face suddenly turned sallow and her eyes stared straight ahead. She had long lost her mind. When Shi Fengju returned, Sang-won helped him change his clothes and clean his face before telling him about the matter. Shi Fengju was annoyed when he heard it. What is mother thinking? Why did she suddenly agree? "No, I'll go look for her." "Fengju." Sang-won pulled him. "Mother has already agreed. You have to think of a way before you go." Shi Fengju was pulled back by her. He muttered to himself for a moment before asking, "Did someone say something to mother afterwards?" Sang-won was startled. She shook her head and said, "I don't know either." Her eyes flickered as she looked at Shi Fengju with hesitation. Shi Fengju was also looking at her. When their eyes met, they both understood each other's meaning, big sister. Shi Fengju suddenly felt even more uncomfortable. He sighed and said, If that's really the case, then big sister is really. Sangwon didn't know that Shi Mei was worried about Shi Lian, but Shi Fengju knew a little about it. Fengju, if big sister really said something, I'm afraid mother won't change her mind so easily. Sangwon sighed. She really wanted to ask Shi Fengju if he would help Shi Lian to the end, but she felt that it was inappropriate to ask. After all, the one who made the decision was Wang. I'll talk to mother first. Although it's already decided, it doesn't mean it can't be changed. Shi Fengju patted her hand gently. Sangwon smiled and nodded. The two chatted for a while and had dinner together. Shi Fengju went to Wang's place alone. Not long after, Shi Fengju returned with a face full of anger. Sangwon's heart sank when she saw that. She knew that she couldn't persuade her mother. Before she could ask, Shi Fengju said angrily, "Mother is really muddle-headed. She actually said that third sister can help me and our family in the future after she marries over. What kind of words is that? It's not like we're going to be in-laws. If they want to help me, I won't even be able to accept it, let alone take the initiative to look for them." Shi Fengju didn't dare to tell Sangwon that his mother had relayed his eldest sister's godlike reasoning. If Sangwon knew about it, he wouldn't be able to coax her the entire night. Then wouldn't third sister be, "Fengju, is there any way to help her? If third sister really marries into the Hong family, her life will be ruined." Sangwon became anxious. Third sister is also my father's flesh and blood. Since I've decided to take care of this matter, there's no reason for me to give up halfway. Do you think your husband is such a person? All right, don't think too much about it. Didn't mother ask you to prepare? Just prepare as usual. As for third sister, tell her to be patient and not to make a fuss. If anything happens, there'll be no turning back. Shi Fengju said. That means you have a way. Sangwon's eyes lit up. Not yet, but I will. Shi Fengju said with certainty. He smiled and asked, "Do you believe me?" "I believe, of course I believe you. How can I not believe in my husband's ability?" Sangwon nodded her head repeatedly. She smiled and threw herself into his embrace. "Husband, you're the best." Shi Fengju felt a little sour in his heart. Usually, even if it was just the two of them together, she would still be shy. It was as difficult as ascending to the heavens for him to get her to take the initiative to say sweet words of love. But now, he was only helping his own sister. Seeing how happy she was, she even acted coquettishly towards him. It wasn't that he didn't like it when she acted coquettishly towards him, but he just felt that it wasn't the right time. "What's wrong with you?" Sangwon was a little surprised. "Nothing." Shi Fengju shook his head, but he couldn't help but ask, "Why are you so happy that I'm helping third sister?" "You're even more concerned about her matters than I am." Sangwon didn't know where the sourness in his heart came from. She sighed softly and said, "I just feel that if she marries that dandy young master of the Hong family, she'll be very pitiful. Although I'm not related to her by blood, I've gotten along with her these days and I like her for being honest and gentle. I can't bear to see her fall into that state. If a woman jumped into that pit of fire, there would be no hope for her in this lifetime." Shi Fengju's eyes flickered. He knew that she was most likely thinking about him. He put his arm around her shoulder and said with a smile, "Don't worry, I'm a man of my word." The next day, after Sangwon returned to Wang, she began to get busy with Shi Lian's marriage. She went to Shi Lian's place under the pretext of discussing the dowry and secretly reminded her. Shi Lian was already in despair and was waiting to die. Seeing that Sangwon didn't want a joke, she cheered up a little. She put away the gloomy expression on her face and continued to live her life as usual. Gu Fengzi had been asking Lan Xiang to inquire about it. She thought that there would be a big disturbance when Wang and the others returned from the Plum Blossom Temple that day. According to her plan, Sangwon and young Master Hong were entangled in the Plum Blossom Forest and alarmed Wang. After losing so much face, Wang definitely wouldn't forgive her. Grounding her would be the lightest punishment. Who would have thought that on that day, everyone returned as if nothing had happened? Gu Fengzi didn't believe Lan Xiang's inquiry at first, but when she saw that Lan Xiang didn't seem to be lying, she thought, it must be my aunt who wanted to save face and suppress this matter. Gu Fengzi couldn't help but feel a little annoyed. She thought, my aunt is so tolerant. But even if this matter was suppressed, Wang should have found another reason to punish Sang Wan severely. Unexpectedly, there was no reaction at all. Until today, everyone in the residence knew that the third miss was going to be the concubine of the Zhizhou's son and would marry him on the 16th of this month. Gu Fengzi thought about it and realized that something had gone wrong. Young Master Hong probably didn't meet Sang Wan, but met Shi Lian. Gu Fengzi felt that it was very boring, so she didn't care about this matter and closed her door to recuperate. Shi Lian could marry whoever she wanted. She didn't have the slightest interest in being a wife or a concubine. It was impossible for her to feel guilty because of this. In her eyes, this wasn't a problem at all. Wang saw that Shi Lian didn't have the slightest bit of dissatisfaction and thought that she was very willing. The little bit of guilt in her heart disappeared without a trace. She felt more and more that she had found a good marriage for her. Thus, she happily waited for the auspicious day to send her off. Unexpectedly, nothing happened on Shi Lian's side, but Shi Yumei's side stirred up trouble. Ran Jixian wanted to move back to Mengxian and refused to stay in the Shi household anymore. He made a fuss in front of Wang. Ever since they were instigated by Cui Bao, Ran Jixian and Cui Bao had set their eyes on the furnishings in Banana Courtyard. As long as it wasn't too big and difficult to carry, the two of them would find an opportunity to sneakily move the things out bit by bit and leave them in an inn. Incense burners, spices, brushes, ink, paper, inkstone, brush holder, paperweight, flower vases, flower pots, jade chimes, gold, silver and jade ornaments, silk and even embroidered tablecloths and chairs, small bonsai pieces, exquisite bowls and plates, and so on. The first place the two of them started was the study, followed by the other rooms in Banana Courtyard, and finally Shi Yumei's living quarters. At first, Shi Yumei didn't notice. Later on, her favorite red sandalwood Buddha's hand that was placed on the long table in the living room also disappeared. She couldn't help but ask Cui Zhu about it. In fact, who in Banana Courtyard didn't know about Ran Jixian and Cui Bao's actions? The maids and old women were laughing so hard that their bellies almost burst from talking behind their backs. But which servant would be willing to talk about their master's matters? Even if they saw it, they would just pretend not to see it. Even Cui Zhu had the same thought. When Cui Zhu heard the question, she secretly groaned and stuttered. Shi Yumei became more and more suspicious. Did you keep it? Or did you accidentally break it? Tell me quickly, don't hide it from me. Cui Zhu had no choice but to kneel down and reply, Master took it the day before yesterday. Shi Yumei frowned and thought that Ran Jixian had taken it to play with. Although she wasn't happy, she didn't do anything. During the meal, she only mentioned that the white jade Buddha hand was a precious gift from her mother and told him to be careful not to damage it. It was just a reminder. Who knew that Ran Jixian would deny it after hearing it? What white jade Buddha's hand? I've never seen it before. Shi Yumei widened her eyes and said, That's strange. Cui Zhu said that you were the one who took it, so why are you still pretending? Otherwise, why didn't you see the white jade Buddha's hand on the long table in front of the window? Ran Jixian slammed the table and said with a dark face, Cui Zhu, you said that you saw me take it with your own eyes? Your thing is missing and you're asking me, how would I know? Cui Zhu was so scared that her legs went soft and her face turned pale. She was speechless for a moment. Shi Yumei knew that Cui Zhu had always been honest and wouldn't lie to her. Seeing that her husband dared to deny it in front of her, she was furious and the two couldn't help but curse at each other. Shi Yumei angrily rushed into Ran Jixian's study room and wanted to find the white jade Buddha's hand. Who knew that she couldn't find the white jade Buddha's hand, but she felt that something was wrong with the study room. After looking around a few times, she cried out in alarm and shouted, Where did all the furnishings go? Where are the pair of copper bull paperweights, the phoenix-piercing flower jade annulus, the 100-flower statue, the green glazed plum blossom vase, the green jade rui, the white jade lotus leaf sculpture, the coral candlestick, and the golden incense burner? Chapter 206. Ran Jixuan flew into a rage when he saw her rushing in aggressively to search for the items and even questioning him arrogantly. How would I know? It must have been taken by someone who didn't have eyes when cleaning up the house. Shi Yumei sneered. Wasn't Cuebao the one cleaning up the house? Then it must have been taken by her? Cui Bao's heart was in a state of panic. Hearing this, she was so frightened that her knees went soft and she knelt down. Madam, please forgive me. It's not this servant, it's not this servant. Don't talk nonsense without evidence. Ran Jixuan gestured for Cuebao to get up. He coughed and said to Shi Yumei, perhaps your second brother is angry with me for asking someone to take it away. Forget it, I've wanted to say this to you for a long time. It's better for me to say it today. Since your family hates me so much, I don't want to stay in your house anymore. Pack up, we'll go back to Mengxian in 2 days. What did you say? Shi Yumei threw away her thoughts of searching for the item she lost and said in disbelief, Go back? Humph. There won't even be a place to stand when we go back. Have you thought about where to stay? When did my mother and Fengjiu mistreat us? Why are you maligning them? Ran Jixuan sneered, Of course they treat you well, but I'm the one they hate. I, Ran Jixuan, have some pride. I won't wait for them to chase me away, I'll leave on my own. You're my wife, so you have to follow me wherever I go. Humph. I have many friends in Mengxian. We'll stay in any house for a while and slowly find a suitable one to rent a house. Humph. Even if I freeze or starve to death, I don't want to continue being treated like this. I think you're crazy. Shi Yumei was so angry that her body trembled. She lived a luxurious life in her family, so why would she be willing to go back to Mengxian to suffer? But she was the wife of the man in front of her. If he wanted to leave, she had to follow him. You're the crazy one. Wake up, this is the Shi household, not the Ran household. We have to go back sooner or later. In short, I've made up my mind. I must leave. Tomorrow, go and tell your mother that we will leave in 2 days. Ran Jixuan said resolutely and decisively. Shi Yumei was anxious. She really didn't want to leave. How good was it to live in this manner? She didn't have to worry about anything. Everything was taken care of by her mother and brothers. It hadn't even been half a year since she had enjoyed this carefree and comfortable life, and now she was going to return to the chaos of the past? Shi Yumei humbled herself and begged Ran Jixuan. She also told him that staying here would be beneficial for him. But how could Ran Jixuan listen to her? On New Year's Eve, he would never forget the bucket of cold water that was poured on his head. Furthermore, the servants in this courtyard, after suffering that day, did not have the slightest bit of respect for him. Instead, they faintly revealed contempt. Ran Jixuan was extremely angry, but there was nothing he could do. With Cuebao's incitement, of course, he was willing to go to Mengxian to enjoy himself. If you want me to stay, that's fine. Ran Jixuan listened to Shi Yumei's incessant nagging and sneered. Ask your second brother to kowtow and serve me tea as an apology, then I'll forgive him. That matter will be considered over. I'll also stay so that you can continue to be filial to your mother. How about that? Shi Yumei was dumbfounded and her heart was filled with anger. Let's not talk about this first. She couldn't possibly ask Shi Fengjiu. How could she let her brother suffer such grievances? Even if she asked, with Shi Fengjiu's personality, there was no way he would agree. You have nothing else to say? Ran Jixuan snorted and said, If you have nothing else to say, then do as I say. Don't forget to tell your mother tomorrow. Shi Yumei's body turned cold. She gritted her teeth and said, As you wish. I was meddlesome. I shouldn't have come back and caused trouble for my mother and Fengjiu. There was no need to wait until tomorrow. On the same day, Shi Yumei told Wang that she wanted to return to Mengxian. Wang didn't find it strange and asked why. Shi Yumei naturally wouldn't say that it was her husband who instigated her to do so. She only said that Mengxian was her husband's home and that it was time for her to go back after being away for so long. Although Wang usually didn't manage the household affairs and didn't think much, she wasn't a fool who could be easily fooled. Her daughter's words were too far-fetched. Seeing that Shi Yumei's expression wasn't right, she began to interrogate her. At first, she thought that Shi Yumei had heard some gossip and was wronged. She wanted to summon Sang Wan and order her to find out which servant dared to gossip behind her back. Naturally, this matter couldn't be concealed. Shi Yumei had no choice but to tell her mother about Ran Jixian's request to return. Although she didn't tell her mother about his shameless words, her eyes couldn't help but redden as she thought about it. Wang saw her daughter's expression of reluctance, but her attitude was firm. She knew that it definitely had something to do with that good son-in-law of hers, and her teeth itched with hatred. Her daughter didn't say a single word about him, leaving her with no place to vent her anger. Since that's the case, let's wait for Fengju to return. Wang could only sigh. That day, when Shi Fengju returned to the household, Wang sent someone to call him over. Hearing that his sister insisted on leaving, Shi Fengju said without thinking, "It must be because brother-in-law doesn't feel comfortable staying in our household, right? Since he insists, it's fine too. Pack your things, I'll have someone send you back." Shi Yumei was stunned and felt a little disappointed. She forced a smile and thanked him. Wang was unhappy and complained to Shi Fengju, "How can you say that? Does it mean that you only have eyes for your wife and can't see anyone else?" Shi Fengju smiled and said, "Mother, brother-in-law insists on leaving. I'm sure big sister has already tried to persuade him but to no avail. What do you want me to say? Don't tell me I have to kneel down and beg him to stay." Wang snorted and said, "Easy for you to say. They have no income in Mengxian, no property, and no place to stay. How are they going to survive when they return?" Shi Yumei was also worried about this. She couldn't help but look at Shi Fengju. That's not easy. After listening to Wang and Big Sister's words, Shi Fengju could roughly guess Ran Jixian's thoughts. He casually said, "I'll ask the housekeeper to accompany us. We'll buy a house with 2 courtyards to live in. Brother-in-law, just focus on your studies. Every month, I'll ask someone to send some money to you for your living expenses. Big sister, what do you think? Second brother, thank you so much." Shi Yumei felt as if a huge rock had been lifted from her heart. She was immediately overjoyed. Wang was also relieved. She put her palms together and sighed, "That's great. Sigh, I hope he can study hard when he returns and stop wasting his time on wine and women." Shi Fengju smiled faintly and didn't say anything. Shi Yumei, however, froze. "Your third sister will be married in a few days. Why don't you stay for a few more days? It won't be too late to leave after she's married," Wang said. Shi Yumei said, "Third sister will be married as a concubine. There's nothing to be excited about. It doesn't matter if we wait or not. I'm afraid my master can't wait. We should return as soon as possible." Wang saw her insistence and didn't say anything else. Shi Fengju suddenly thought of Sang Wan's concern for Shi Lian and felt a chill in his heart. Ran Jixian was secretly happy when he heard Shi Yumei's reply. He felt that Cui Bao's idea was great. The Shi family wouldn't ignore Shi Yumei's life and death. Didn't they already have a house and income? Thinking of the coming days of indulging in wine and women and being flattered by everyone, Ran Jixian's face was full of smiles. He couldn't wait to return to Mengxian. When the couple came, they only brought a small bag. When they left, they had a lot of luggage. Clothes, shoes, rouge, face powder, and other things naturally had to be taken away. Wang felt sorry for her daughter and gave her a lot of high-quality clothes, jewelry, accessories, ornaments, bird's nest, white fungus, ginseng, and so on. The next day, 2 big boxes were packed and sent over by Nanny Jiang. Shi Yumei was packing her clothes, shoes, socks, and other things with Cui Zhu and the other 2 maidservants. When she saw Nanny Jiang's things, she quickly accepted and thanked her mother. She said that she would thank her mother later. Just as Nanny Jiang left, Ran Jixian rushed in again. He glanced at the 2 boxes on the ground and didn't say anything. Anyway, even Shi Yumei herself was his, let alone 2 boxes of things. It wouldn't be too late to take a closer look at them when they returned to Mengxian. He came here because he had something to ask her. What is it? Say it. Shi Yumei's face didn't look too good as she said coldly. Ran Jixien pulled her to the side and asked, Your second brother said that he would buy a house for us. Did he say where he would buy it? How big is it? Are all the furniture in the room ready? Also, how much did he say for the monthly living expenses? You just want to ask this? Shi Yumei was so angry that she felt dizzy. Yes. Ran Jixien was not afraid of itching anymore. His face didn't turn red and his heart didn't skip a beat as he said, Isn't this all for your sake? It doesn't matter if I'm a man or if not, I can just stay at a friend's house. But you're different. You're the young mistress of the Shi family. How can you suffer? Isn't it for your own good to find a good house with everything? Besides, you're the daughter of the Shi family. You should have a share of the Shi family's assets. This little request isn't too much, right? Get out. Shi Yumei said hatefully, Don't you want to know? You can ask my second brother yourself. You don't believe him, but I do. He won't treat me unfairly as his sister. I'll only listen to his arrangements for everything. If you're dissatisfied, please do as you wish. Ran Jixien sneered, You don't know how to appreciate my kindness. After saying that, he left. After packing for 2 days, Shi Fengju ordered head servant Yu to bring 2 servants to personally send the 2 of them, Cui Zhu and Cui Bao, back to Mengxian. When they were about to leave, Wang and Shi Yumei held hands and cried for a while. Gu Fengzi was still sick, so she sent Lan Xiang to send them off. Gu Fengzi felt that it was a pity. With Shi Yumei leaving, she would have one less helper. However, it wasn't up to her to comment on this matter. It was just a thought. The group entered Mengxian. Head servant Yu was familiar with the roads and ordered the coachman to stop at the end of Qianshui Alley in the east of the county. The servant jumped down to unlock the door and drove the carriage in from the side door. It was a courtyard house with 2 entrances. There was a back seat, an east and west wing, and an east and west wing. There were about 20 rooms, enough for the 4 of them to live in. The furniture has been prepared and the kitchen maid has been hired. It's a couple. The man can take care of the courtyard and clean it. He can start work tomorrow. Eldest Missy and eldest young master, please come in. Old slave, you will ask the servants to bring the boxes in. Chapter 207. The courtyard was clean and tidy with white walls, freshly painted doors and windows, and even the curtains were new. There were also 2 pomegranate and magnolia trees planted in the courtyard. It was quite lively. However, it could not be compared to Banana Courtyard, let alone the grand pavilions of the Shi family. As soon as they got off the carriage, Ran Jixien raised his eyebrows in dissatisfaction. In his eyes, this courtyard was small and tasteless. How could they live in it? Shi Yumei was also slightly disappointed. They were only relying on the help of her family, so this was considered acceptable. Naturally, this place could not be compared to the Shi family's residence, but it was not worse than the wealthy families in Mengxian. When they entered the house, the furniture was neatly prepared. Shi Yumei was happy again and directed Cui Zhu and the others to move things in and out. Head servant Yu, is this the place that your young master arranged? Is there nothing else? Yumei is used to living in comfort, so I'm afraid she won't be used to living here. Ran Jixien called head servant Yu over and asked. This place is quiet, and the people living nearby are all good people. It's suitable for young master to work hard. It's more than enough for you and eldest Missy to live here with a few servants. Young master said that if you are not satisfied, you can find another place in the future. Head servant Yu said with a smile. How could Ran Jixien have the ability to prepare this place himself? Hearing this, he pulled a long face and snorted without saying anything. Then, he asked, What about this month's living expenses? Did you bring it? Head servant Yu said, It's all handed over to eldest Missy. He smiled faintly and said, You are a scholar. Old slave was afraid that the smell of money would make you unhappy. Ran Jixian's face turned even uglier, but there was nothing he could do. He stomped his foot and said, "Forget it, leave the things in the courtyard. You can go back and report. Wait, where is the deed for this house? Did you hand it over to eldest Missy too?" "Deed? Head servant," you said blankly. "Old slave doesn't have a deed. This house was bought with the public's money, so the deed is naturally kept in the public's hands. However, eldest young master said that you and eldest Missy can rest assured." Ran Jixien finally jumped up. "So this house belongs to the Shi family? Since it was bought with the public money, it naturally belongs to the Shi family." Head steward Yu still maintained a forced smile on his face, but he was full of disdain in his heart. He thought to himself, "How can you ask such a question? You're still a scholar, but you're shameless to this extent. You can be considered a genius." Ran Jixien couldn't help but become angry. His face turned green and then white. He wanted to point at housekeeper Yu's nose and curse at him. Then, he would take his wife and concubines and leave. Unfortunately, a single copper coin would suffocate a hero to death. Although he had the thought, he did not have the guts to do so. If there's nothing else, this old slave will take his leave. It's getting late, and the old slave still has to rush back to report to the eldest young master. Housekeeper Yu slightly bowed as he spoke. Scram! Ran Jixien squeezed out a word from between his teeth. He had finally vented his anger. Housekeeper Yu smiled and didn't care about his attitude at all. He went in to bid farewell to Shi Yumei and left in a hurry with the 2 servants and the coachman. As soon as they left, Ran Jixien rushed in front of Shi Yumei and asked her where her living expenses were. "What are you doing?" Shi Yumei immediately became alert and said, "This is our family's allowance. Don't you dare take it out to fool around. I'm asking you how much you have." Ran Jixien was impatient. Shi Yumei said unhappily, 100 taels. "Only 100 taels. Ran Jixien sneered. "Is your Shi family only an empty shell now? A dignified eldest Missy is only willing to give you 100 taels a month. It wasn't even enough to eat a good meal outside." Shi Yumei also sneered, "It's a pity that I'm not only the eldest Missy of the Shi family, but also the daughter-in-law of the Ren family. What about you? How much did you hand over to me?" Ran Jixien stared at her coldly and snorted, saying that he was tired and wanted to rest. He dragged Cui Bao away to serve him and left Shi Yumei and her servant to continue cleaning up. Shi Yumei was so angry that she kept scolding. Cui Zhu hurriedly tried to persuade her with a smile. Ran Jixien didn't expect that not only did his family not have any room to live, even the restaurants and shops in Mengxian County had become stingy. None of them were willing to give him credit. Ran Jixien didn't understand at first, but on second thought, he guessed that it must be Shi Fengju's doing. He couldn't help but feel embarrassed and angry. Furthermore, he had lost face in front of his friends. Every day, he would quarrel with Shi Yumei, turning the world upside down. There wasn't a single day of peace. Housekeeper Yu reported to Shi Fengju everything that happened in Mengxian County without missing a word. Shi Fengju didn't mind and only smiled faintly, ordering him to leave. At that moment, the storekeeper came to report that many of the decorations and furnishings in Banana Courtyard were missing. They couldn't be accounted for in the warehouse. Shi Fengju didn't need to think to know that his brother-in-law must have stolen it. He said, "Just write a list. Don't forget to mark it on the booklet. Just say that it's missing." The storekeeper was also well aware of the situation and quickly left with a smile. Shi Fengju couldn't help but sigh. He thought about his brother-in-law. When he returned to Mengxian County and found out that he couldn't enjoy himself because of him, he wondered how angry he would be. He didn't care about anything else. He just didn't want to vent his anger on his eldest sister. The Fu was still preparing for Shi Lian's wedding. Because she was going to be a concubine, the things she needed to prepare were limited. There weren't any signs of celebration in the Fu. It was a far cry from when Shi Yumei got married. Unexpectedly, at the crack of dawn, Shi Fengju and Sang Wan were still sleeping in each other's arms. They were awakened by Mama Li's panicked pounding on the door. "Eldest young master. Eldest young mistress. Not good, not good. Third young mistress's Fu Chu pavilion caught fire. What? Caught fire? Sangwon was shocked. The two of them hurriedly got dressed and got up. How is third younger sister? Is the fire under control? Shi Fengju's face was cold and solemn. Why would there be a fire all of a sudden? Eldest young master, let's quickly go and take a look. Also, let's not disturb mother first. We don't want to scare her. Sangwon hurriedly said. Mama Lee said, I've already called people to put out the fire. It's hard to say how bad the fire is now. Some of third young mistress's hair was burned. I think she fainted because of the smoke. Right now, she's in the embroidered brocade pavilion. The old slave has already sent people to call for a doctor. Sangwon and Shi Fengju hurriedly wrapped themselves in cloaks and led people to the embroidered brocade pavilion. The fire was already under control. Only a small part of it was still burning. However, they could still see the thick smoke rising into the sky. The air was filled with a choking smell. Sangwon couldn't help but cover her mouth and cough. Shi Fengju hurriedly protected her and gently patted her back. He said softly, Let's not go there. Let's go to the embroidered brocade pavilion. Sangwon nodded her head. A moment later, the doctor arrived and gave Shi Lian first aid. She finally regained consciousness. She seemed to have been scared to death. When she saw Shi Fengju and Sangwon, she burst into tears. Kai Yun also couldn't stop crying. Mama Lee ordered people to take Kai Yun away to rest and called Hong Yi to serve her. Sangwon comforted Shi Lian and asked Shi Fengju to leave. She then asked people to change Shi Lian's clothes and wash her face. Only then did she discover that there was a large wound on her leg. The skin and flesh were all burned. She was afraid that it would leave a scar in the future. Mama Lee and the others sighed. What happened? How could there be a fire all of a sudden? Someone had already run to tell Wong about it. Wong was shocked, angry, and anxious. She hurriedly put on her clothes and rushed over. Mother. Shi Lian raised her head from the pillow in panic. She kowtowed to Wang and said, Mother, it's all your daughter's fault. It's all your daughter's fault. I'm sorry for disturbing you. Where's Kai Yun? What's going on? Wang saw that she was unharmed and became angry. Mother. Shi Fengju came in from outside and supported her as he said, Third sister is quite frightened. The physician has just given her some medicine to calm her nerves. Let's talk outside. As he spoke, he helped Wang Shi out. Sangwon nodded to Shi Lian and ordered people to take good care of her. She also followed them out. Shi Fengju had already asked about the cause. It turned out that Shi Lian had been copying Buddhist scriptures for a long time last night. When she went to sleep, she forgot to turn off the lights in the outer hall. The windows weren't closed tightly either. As a result, the wind blew over the oil lamp and set the tablecloth on fire, causing the fire. Let third sister live in Juejin house for the time being. Fortunately, she's fine. There's nothing important in the house. If it's gone, it's gone. When the weather gets warmer, I'll ask people to clean it up and rebuild it. Mother, don't take it to heart. Shi Fengju persuaded. Wang's face was cold. She couldn't help but say, You're already an adult. How can you be so careless? You said that copying Buddhist scriptures would help me accumulate blessings. Look at what happened. You almost scared me half to death. Mother, this was an accident. Who would have thought? Shi Fengju laughed. Wang sighed and asked Sangwon, What did the doctor say? Where was she hurt? Sangwon said, The doctor said that she was frightened and needed to rest for a while. Her hair was burned and there were a few blisters on her hands. But it's okay. It's just that on her left calf, there was a burn that was about half a foot long and half the size of a palm. It's quite serious. The doctor said that it might leave a scar. Preposterous. Wang slammed her hand on the table. This time, she was really angry. She complained, Why did this have to happen at this time? That lass is really making me worry more and more. The Hong family is coming to pick her up in a few days. What should we do? Shi Fengju and Sang Wan looked at each other without saying a word. Wang sighed and complained to herself for a while. She frowned and said, Fengju, what do you think we should do about this? Shi Fengju sighed, Mother, is there even a need to ask? How can third sister get into the bridal sedan in her current state? Don't tell me you want her to go to the Hong family to recuperate. Wang was speechless for a moment. According to Sang Wan, her leg injury was so serious that it would take at least half a month to 20 days for her to recover. The Hong family's young master was taking in a concubine, not an ancestor. Why would he be willing to take someone back to recuperate? Moreover, her leg was injured like that. Would the young master still take a liking to her? Forget it. Wang sighed and said, I can't help but give up this old face of mine. When the sun rises, I'll get someone to break off this engagement. That lass can't blame anyone for her lack of fortune. That's the only way. Shi Fengju sighed. Chapter 208. Mother, there's nothing else here. You should go back and rest for a while. Sang Wan said. Wang didn't want to stay any longer. She nodded and instructed her to take care of the matter. She also told her that there was no need to pay respects today. She then left with Nanny Jiang and Xiu Chun. Young master, young mistress, you should also go back and rest for a while. The old slave is watching over here. After sending off Wang, Mama Li smiled at Shi Fengju and Sang Wan. Shi Fengju didn't decline. He smiled and said, Thank you, Nanny. Then, he pulled Sang Wan back. It was almost time for them to wake up. The husband and wife returned to their room and couldn't continue sleeping. They took off their outer clothes and wrapped themselves in the quilt as they lay on the bed to talk. Sang Wan stared at Shi Fengju with a pair of clear and bright eyes. From time to time, she would blink and look at Shi Fengju with a strange expression. Why are you looking at me? Are you scared silly by that fire? Don't you recognize your husband? Shi Fengju smiled and pulled her into his embrace. With one hand, he scratched her smooth and perky nose. Sang Wan bit her lip and smiled. Tell me honestly, how did the fire at Futsiu Pavilion start? She didn't think much of it at first, but the more she thought about it, the more she felt it was strange. Although Shi Lian cried miserably, Sang Wan felt that she was a little nervous and cried a little too much. Later, Wang angrily said that she wanted to cancel the engagement. Sang Wan became even more suspicious. Shi Fengju didn't even raise his eyebrows when he heard her question. He smiled and said in her ear, I knew I couldn't hide it from you. But look, hasn't the matter been resolved? The Hong family won't do this marriage again. After all, she was only a concubine and not a wife. It really was you. Sang Wan was speechless. This person wasn't careless at all. He didn't even bat an eyelid when he set fire to his own house. Wasn't he worried that the fire couldn't be controlled? Then the wound on third sister's leg. It's fake. Shi Fengju said faintly, I've already told her that if mother doesn't cancel the engagement today, she'll pretend to be frightened and spout nonsense. When the time comes, we'll invite a master to take a look. Since the sorcerer was here, he naturally had to perform a divination to exorcise evil spirits. As for what he would say, it was all up to Shi Fengju. Saying that this marriage was inauspicious and that it couldn't be tied was just a small matter. Sang Wan was completely speechless. She stared at Shi Fengju for a long time, unable to come back to her senses. Shi Fengju raised his chin as if he was asking for praise. He rubbed his chin against her face and said with a smile, Isn't your husband very powerful? Sang Wan chuckled, nodded and praised, Impressive. Are you impressed? Impressive. You can't just say that you're impressed. You have to express it. Shi Fengju chuckled and moved closer to her. After daybreak, as expected, Wang Shi sent Nanny Jiang to the Hong family to report the situation. Madame Hong thought about how she was going to marry into the family in a few days, yet this kind of thing happened at this time. It could be seen that this girl was a jinx and inauspicious. She felt a little uncomfortable in her heart. When she heard that there was a scar on her leg, she became even less interested. When she saw that the Sher family had sent someone to cancel the engagement, it was exactly what she wanted. With a few words, the matter was settled. From then on, there was no mention of it. Hong Shi didn't mind. He proved to his friends and servants that he didn't want this kind of unlucky girl with a disfigured face. It wasn't that he didn't want her, but that she wasn't worthy. No one dared to make fun of him in the first place. It was just that he felt that he had lost face. Naturally, they all flattered him. Hong Shi was overjoyed and threw this matter aside. There were many beautiful women in Qingzhou City who were sensible and tactful. Which one of them wasn't better than that Shi Lian who only knew how to cry and make a fuss? Shi Lian was greatly relieved when she learned that the engagement was cancelled. She held Sang Wan's hand and choked with sobs. Sang Wan comforted her for a while and sighed in her heart. After this incident, it would be a long time before Wang Shi would bring up Sang Wan's marriage again. She didn't know if it would hurt her in the future. It was almost time for Gu Fengzi's mourning period, but she was still bedridden in Peony Park. Sang Wan deliberated for a long time. She took the opportunity to ask Wang for instructions on how to prepare. Wang thought for a while and said, "This is Feng Er's own matter. She should make her own decision. You should ask her. Whatever she wants, you can ask them to prepare accordingly." As she said that, she looked at Sang Wan strangely and said, "Wan Nyong, Feng Er's temperament is good and she grew up by my side. If she leaves our family, my heart will feel a little empty. I feel that you get along well with her. Do you want her to stay?" Sang Wan felt a little depressed. Of course, she didn't want to, but she couldn't say it. "Mother, this matter is up to you and my husband. Wan Yang has no objections." Wang said, "What if I insist on asking for your opinion?" Sang Wan's face stiffened. She knew that she couldn't say anything in front of her mother-in-law. She could only go along with her and said with a smile, "Mother, you dote on my younger sister so much. Wan Yang naturally hopes that she can stay by your side to serve you and please you." Wang's face revealed a smile and nodded. "That's true. This is how our Shi family's eldest daughter-in-law should be. Virtuous, sensible, and tolerant. Since you have such thoughts, find a chance to persuade Fengju not to let Feng Er leave. Don't worry, you entered the Shi family with 8 people carrying a palanquin. No one can snatch the position of Shi family's young mistress from you. Daughter-in-law understands. Mother." Sang Wan agreed with a smile and left. Sang Wan felt a little heavy in her heart. Ever since she entered the Shi family, she had never been disrespectful to her mother-in-law and had always served her respectfully. She always thought of her mother-in-law first. When she took care of the household, she didn't have any selfish motives and handled everything impartially. She didn't try to gain any benefits for herself. But why did her mother-in-law only see Gu Fengzi and not her at all? "Young mistress, you're here." Sang Wan was deep in thought when a servant came out from the side. It was third aunt's servant, Nanny Gue. Sang Wan returned to her senses and smiled. "Nanny Gue, you're looking for me. Our old mistress would like to invite young mistress over to have a seat. I wonder if young mistress is free," Nanny Gue said with a smile. Sang Wan subconsciously raised her head to look at the flowers and trees in the distance. Unknowingly, it was already spring. Third aunt must be urging her to tidy up Qing Hui Garden. She smiled and said, "Mother-in-law wants me to go to Peony Park to speak. Why don't I visit third aunt in the afternoon? I wonder if third aunt will be free? Our old mistress usually has nothing to do, so she'll naturally be free. Then, old slave will return to old mistress. Young mistress, don't forget about this afternoon," Nanny Gue said with a smile. "Definitely." Sang Wan nodded with a smile. Nanny Gue then bowed and took her leave. When she came to Peony Park to pass on Wang's message, Gu Fengzi did not hesitate. With a pale face, she said while panting, "Thank you for your concern, older sister. Although I feel a little weak and dizzy, it's nothing serious. When the day comes, I will naturally go to Guangling Temple to perform a ritual. I only hope that older sister can help me arrange it in advance. Of course, I've already instructed the Jean housekeeper to arrange it properly. Don't worry. Sang-won smiled. It was naturally inconvenient for her to personally arrange the matters outside. She could just leave it to the head housekeeper. Moreover, she still did not want to be involved with Gu Fengzi's matters. Thank you, older sister. Gu Fengzi smiled slightly and looked at Sang-won with sparkling eyes. I see that older sister has lost a lot of weight. It's no wonder. There are so many matters in the residence that older sister has to handle alone. How can you not be tired? When I recover and end my mourning period, I will definitely share older sister's burden. When that time comes, older sister will also be able to rest. Sang-won was instantly angered. However, she had always been well-mannered and would never lose her composure in front of Gu Fengzi. Her expression only changed slightly before returning to normal. She pretended that she did not hear Gu Fengzi's words and smiled faintly. Younger sister, rest well. It's better to worry less when you're sick to recover faster. She smiled and instructed Lan Xiang to serve her well before leaving Peony Park. Not long after lunch, Sang-won went to Ji Chui Tower to meet third old Mistress Shi. Wan Nyang is here. Come in and have a seat. Third old Mistress Shi went forward with a smile. Thank you, third aunt. Sang-won smiled and bowed as she followed in. During this period of time, Sang-won had ordered the servants to take care of Ji Chui Tower's daily needs. Third old Mistress Shi was originally worried that she would be looked down upon when she returned to the residence and became more sensitive. However, when she saw how Shi Fengju and Sang-won treated her and her sisters-in-law with sincerity and consideration, and how Sang-won treated her two sisters-in-law, her sensitivity gradually faded away. She increasingly felt that Sang-won was a good person and treated her more closely. After chatting for a while, Sang-won smiled and said, "All right, third aunt, our Qingzhou has the most rain in March and April every year. The continuous spring rain can go on and on for more than 10 days. The south wind is humid and sticky everywhere. These few days, Rizhong has been thinking that when the weather gets better in April, we will tidy up Qinghui Garden and invite third uncle and third aunt to move in before the 15th of August. What does third aunt think?" Third old Mistress Shi smiled and said, "Actually, after living here for a long time, I feel that Ji Chui Tower is not bad. The rooms are spacious and bright, dry and comfortable. It can be seen that you put in a lot of effort when choosing this place. You don't have to be too anxious about Qinghui Garden, you can do whatever is convenient for you." Sang-won smiled and said, "Since third aunt has said so, I will remember it. Thank you, third aunt, for your understanding. We are a family, there's no need to be so courteous." Third old Mistress Shi smiled and sighed. "Our family's old master really has good taste to pick such a good daughter-in-law for his eldest grandson. You put in so much effort for me, your aunt, and I'm not a blockhead, how can I not see it?" Nanny Gue also smiled and said, "Isn't that so, young mistress? Our old mistress is full of praises for you. You can't blame old mistress for praising you, young mistress' way of doing things is really admirable. Look at what third aunt and mama are saying." Sang-won smiled and said, "You and third uncle have returned home, so as the younger generation, I have to be filial. All right, third aunt, I wonder why third aunt called me here today?" Chapter 209. Look at me, I was so engrossed in small talk that I almost forgot about the important matter. Third old Mistress Shi slapped her forehead and smiled. "It's like this, I want to purchase some fertile land and 1 or 2 farmsteads. I wonder if Wan Nyang has any connections?" Sang-won was startled. "Third aunt, you want to?" Third old Mistress Shi sighed softly and said, "There's nothing to hide about this. Our Yuzhen is already engaged to old master's colleague and will be married off to Chengdu in the middle of next year. As for Yulin, I've discussed it with third uncle, and we're thinking of finding a marriage for her near Qingzhou in the next 1 or 2 years. The two of us will eventually return to our roots in the future, and it doesn't feel good to not have our 2 daughters by our side." That's why I'm thinking of slowly purchasing some land now so that we can give it to Yulin as her dowry. I know that there are some in the family, but this is the thought of your third uncle and I as parents, and it's different from the families." Sangwon nodded and smiled. "If that's the case, Won Young will do her best. But I don't know much about what's going on outside. How about this, when Fengju returns, I'll discuss it with him or ask the housekeeper in the outer courtyard. They'll definitely know." Third old Mistress She had the same intention. She was not in charge of the household, so it was naturally inconvenient for her to ask the housekeeper in the outer courtyard. Hearing that, she said happily, "That's great. Third aunt will thank you in advance. It's just a matter of talking. Third aunt doesn't have to be so polite." After leaving Ji Chui Tower, Sangwon walked back slowly with her head lowered as if she was thinking about something. Third old Mistress She's words had also touched her, causing her thoughts to run wild. She wondered if she should secretly buy some land for herself. Her days were smooth sailing and everything was going well. But every time she was alone, she would feel panicky and uncertain for no reason. She was very clear that everything she had now came from Shi Fengju. What he gave her, she had it. Whenever he took it back, she would have nothing left. Thinking about Gu Fengzi's ambitious words today, Sangwon's mind became even more chaotic. Gu Fengzi was a special existence in the Shi family. Although she didn't know what happened between her and Shi Fengju that made Shi Fengju dislike her so much, with Wang around, Shi Fengju couldn't really do anything to Gu Fengzi. That woman was cunning and sinister. Who knew what other crazy things she would do? There was no such thing as being a thief for 1,000 years, but there was no such thing as guarding against a thief for 1,000 years. What if one day he accidentally fell into her trap? It wasn't impossible. What would he do if Shi Fengju got mad at him? Or even worse, what if they ended up divorcing each other? Taking advantage of the current situation, he bought some farmland as a precaution. If there was a day when he needed it, he would have something to rely on. He felt more confident in his heart. The more Sangwon thought about it, the more she made up her mind. She didn't intend to tell Shi Fengju that third old Mistress Shi wanted to buy land. She would ask the housekeeper in the outer courtyard to find out more about it. Shi Fengju came back in the evening. Seeing that Sangwon didn't seem to be in good spirits, he changed his clothes and pulled her into the warm room. He held her hand and asked with a smile, "What's wrong? You don't look well. Who caused trouble for you?" Sangwon shivered slightly. She felt that she didn't reveal anything, but this person saw through it with a single glance. In front of him, she was no different from an invisible person. Sangwon was never to skimp on her work or hide anything from her mother-in-law, regardless of whether she was willing or not. Otherwise, she wouldn't be able to explain herself if she was unlucky in the future. She had to say it sooner or later. Since he asked, she didn't hide it from him. She took back her hand and sat down. She repeated her mother-in-law's words to him and said angrily, "Mother wants me to persuade you to let cousin stay. I've already told you. You can do as you see fit." Shi Fengju knew that it was most likely related to his mother. Hearing that, he did not get angry and sat down beside Sangwon with a smile. "Mother always says the same thing. If you've heard it, then forget it, don't take it to heart." Seeing that Sangwon didn't say anything, Shi Fengju put his hand on her shoulder and forced her to lean against him. He caressed her face with his other hand and smiled. "What's wrong? Are you jealous?" Sangwon glared at him with hidden bitterness and said with some annoyance, "I don't know what you said to Mother. Mother won't do anything if she can't persuade you. Now that she's using me to order me around, how can I not listen to her words? If I can't persuade you, she'll be angry with me." "But I don't want to persuade you." Shi Fengju frowned slightly. "I've underestimated cousin Sangwon. I didn't expect her to be so capable." He sneered, "I, Shi Fengju, hate being coerced. Even if she stays, I won't look at her for the rest of my life." Sangwon's head jumped and she looked at Shi Fengju in a daze. He just said, "Even if she stays." Was he still going to let her stay? Shi Fengju saw her looking at him and was puzzled at first. But soon, he understood and smiled. "I was just saying it casually. Wan Yang, I won't let her stay in the household and cause trouble for us. If she refuses to leave the Shi family's door, I'll send her to the farmstead. Is she willing to go? You're thinking too simply. Shi Fengju sneered. Such a small matter can't stump me. Sang Wan said, Anyway, I've already said what mother wanted me to say. You can deal with her yourself. Shi Fengju smiled. Of course. If mother resents you again, don't take it to heart, en? Even if it's for my sake, I'll let you deal with me when we return to Ning Garden. Sang Wan giggled and shook her hand. Forget it, forget it. I don't dare to deal with you. If you take revenge on me later, I won't even have a place to cry. Shi Fengju smiled and whispered in her ear, How can I take revenge on you? You're so afraid, en? Sang Wan blushed and pushed him away with a smile. Shi Fengju held her in his arms and rubbed his forehead against hers. He said in a low voice, Wan Yang, don't worry about these trivial matters. Your husband won't let you suffer. Sang Wan gave a low hum and raised her eyes to meet his black eyes. Her heart fluttered. His face was so close that she couldn't help but raise her head slightly and kiss him on the cheek. Shi Fengju gave a low hum and held her head to kiss her lips. He pried open her lips and entangled his tongue with hers. On the 20th of the second month, Gu Fengzi took a carriage and brought a few servants to Guangling Temple to perform a ritual and returned 3 days later. Gu Fengzi was wearing a plain white dress and her hairpins were all made of silver. With her pale face, she really looked like a mournful and filial daughter. When she was leaving, Wang saw that she didn't forget to perform a ritual for her late father even though she was sick. She couldn't help but feel pity for her. She held her hand and comforted her for a long time. After she left, she sighed to Sang Wan, Feng is really a good girl with a kind heart. When Gu Jin was alive, he didn't even fulfill half of his responsibility as a father. It's not easy for a woman to do this. She was really a filial daughter. A person with such a temperament is more considerate when interacting with others. Wan Yang, don't you think so? How could Sang Wan say no? She reluctantly smiled and nodded. Wang Shi glanced at her meaningfully and said with a smile, It's good that you think so too. You are sisters, you have to take care of her in the future. Sang Wan smiled, Mother, little sister is so capable. I'm afraid she will take care of me more in the future. Wang didn't know what she meant and agreed with a smile. After sending Wang back, Sang Wan went to Ji Chui Tower. At the same time, she told third old Mistress Shi that there were a few plots of land for sale outside the city. If they bought them now, they could start farming this year. After listening to Sang Wan's detailed explanation, third old Mistress Shi was very touched. Sang Wan then suggested that Nanny Gue and the land guard should go and take a look so that they would have an idea. She also suggested that Lu Ye could accompany them. Third old Mistress Shi also knew that seeing was believing. She praised Sang Wan for her thoughtfulness and agreed to let Nanny Gue and Lu Ye go out to take a look the next day after breakfast. Sang Wan took her leave and returned to Ning Garden. She called Lu Ye over and gave her detailed instructions. Although Lu Ye was a little confused as to why her young mistress wanted her to take a look at those plots of land, she had always listened to Sang Wan and nodded in agreement. After ordering her to leave, Sang Wan leaned on the couch and sighed. Looking at her mother-in-law's stance, she definitely wanted Gu Fengzi to stay. Needless to say, even Shi Fengju had to be wary of her. If he insisted, her mother-in-law wouldn't be able to do anything to him. No matter how unhappy she was, she would have to comply. However, if things really got to that stage, her mother-in-law would definitely vent her anger on her. Her days in the future would not be easy. Gu Fengzi had endured for so long. Once she regained her freedom, who knew what she would do? Even with Shi Fengju's protection, there was no guarantee that she wouldn't make any mistakes. Sang Wan laughed at herself. Fortunately, eldest sister had returned to Mengxian. Otherwise, she would have to be on guard against even more. He was afraid that sooner or later, he would collapse from exhaustion on top of it. Young mistress, second young mistress's mother and sister-in-law are here. They are with first old mistress and second old mistress. First old mistress wants young mistress to meet them. Xingji suddenly said from behind the curtain. Second young mistress? Old Mistress Zhou and young Mistress Zhou are here? Sangwon stood up and asked Xingji to come in. She was surprised. That's right. Xingji lifted the curtain and came in with a smile. This servant will help young mistress change into a set of clothes and comb her hair before going over. It's strange that old Mistress Zhou and young Mistress Zhou are here, but our second young mistress isn't. Sangwon also felt that it was strange. She shook her head and ordered Xingji to change into a set of red satin gown with grape-like patterns, an orange-red pleated skirt, and a bright red coral hairpin embedded with pearls in her hair. She then brought Xingji and the rest over. Just as they arrived at the courtyard, they heard a commotion. Listening carefully, they could hear the voices of second old Mistress She and an unfamiliar old mistress. It should be old Mistress Zhou. There was also the persuasion of Wang and the nannies. It was noisy and lively. Sangwon stopped in her tracks and gave Xingji a look before quietly retreating. Chapter 210. Now that the place was bustling with noise, it was not good for her to barge in. Just now, when she heard a few words, it sounded like they were talking about second young mistress Zhou Jingyi. Sangwon stood at the corner of the courtyard and ordered Xingji to inquire about it. Xingji obeyed the order and came back in a moment, saying anxiously, "No wonder second young mistress did not come back with you. Old Mistress Zhou and young Mistress Zhou are here to help second young mistress and second young master get a divorce." What? Sangwon was shocked and sighed to herself. Zhou Jingyi was a lucky woman. Her husband was unreliable, but she had a good mother to support her. Sangwon had only seen second young master a few times in her previous life and did not have much of an impression of him. However, this person treated his wife in such a manner, it could be seen that he was also unreliable. Old Mistress Zhou's prompt decision to ask for a divorce was bold and courageous, and she loved her daughter dearly. It was admirable and lamentable. From a personal point of view, Zhou Jingyi might as well get a clean divorce rather than being stuck in a dilemma. Otherwise, how would her days end? Thinking that she might not be able to see her again in the future, Sangwon could not help but feel a little melancholy. However, standing on the She family's side, this matter was difficult. Second young master had done such a shameful thing. If the daughter-in-law were to leave because of this, the She family's face would be lost. Mother-in-law and second aunt would definitely not allow such a thing to happen. No wonder there was a quarrel inside. Since old Mistress Zhou had already decided on a divorce, how could she be courteous with her words? "Young mistress, there's a big quarrel inside now. I didn't expect old Mistress Zhou's mouth to be so sharp. That young Mistress Zhou is also not easy to deal with. Old Mistress Zhou and second Mistress Zhou really did not gain any advantage. At this time, young mistress shouldn't go in. Why don't we go back first?" Xingji supported Sangwon and said with a smile. Sangwon thought for a while and nodded with a smile. "I won't be of much help if I go in anyway. Forget it, let's go back first. Get someone to watch over here properly. If there's any news, quickly inform me." Xingji agreed and ordered a maid to stay behind to inquire about it. The little girl couldn't wait to watch the fun, so she hurriedly agreed with a smile. Unexpectedly, Sangwon had only taken a few steps when a slightly anxious voice called out, "Sister-in-law," from behind her, which shocked her. Sangwon turned around and saw a young married woman dressed in a yellow embroidered robe and a white silk dress hurriedly walking towards her with a servant. Who else could it be but Zhou Jingyi? "Brother, sister-in-law." Sangwon was surprised and happy. She hurriedly stepped forward and said, "Why are you here?" Zhou Jingyi's face was slightly embarrassed as she said, "I heard that my mother and sister-in-law were here, so I hurried over." "Sister-in-law, are my mother and sister-in-law with my mother-in-law?" They didn't say anything. When Sangwon saw Zhou Jingyi rushing over in such a hurry, she felt a little more confident in her heart. She led her to the flower bushes at the side and dismissed the servant who was following her. She laughed softly and said, aunt, sister-in-law and second aunt are with my mother-in-law at the moment. Don't worry, I think that they won't be able to come to a conclusion in such a short time. You should know why aunt is here, right? Zhou Jinyi's eyes darkened. She lowered her eyes and sighed. She nodded gently and said, "Of course I know." Zhou Jinyi bit her lips and finally said, "I never thought of divorcing Erlang, but my mother." Zhou Jinyi was a young daughter-in-law after all. She blushed slightly and said softly, "Sister-in-law, I really didn't think of divorcing Erlang. As long as he comes back, no matter how long it takes, I'm willing to wait for him." On the night of their wedding night, when he had lifted her red veil, the handsome face that had greeted her eyes had been deeply imprinted in her heart. At that moment, her originally restless and wild thoughts miraculously calmed down. A faint sweetness and shyness spread from the tip of her heart. She rejoiced that the heavens had given her a perfect husband. It was destined that she would never be able to forget him in this lifetime. Although the situation later was a little unexpected, she was sad, but not in despair. This was because she knew that this was his home. His parents and brothers were here. He would come back sooner or later. What she needed to do was to wait for him quietly at the same spot, in case he didn't see her when he came back. As for that prostitute Su Qing, she didn't care about her at all. He would sooner or later disdain that kind of indecent woman. They weren't the same kind of people. Even if they got together because of a moment of novelty, it wouldn't last long. Sister-in-law. Sangwon sighed softly. She held Zhou Jinyi's hand and didn't know what to say. Since ancient times, it was better to persuade people to stay together than to persuade them to leave. Furthermore, she didn't have the intention to leave. Since you've made up your mind, let's go in and take a look. If auntie and second aunt quarrel fiercely, you'll be the one to suffer in the future. Zhou Jinyi's expression changed. Sister-in-law, come in with me. She knew her mother's temper very well. Her mother-in-law was already resentful towards her. If the two of them fell out, her future days would be very difficult. Sangwon nodded and hurried to the main courtyard with Zhou Jinyi. Just as they entered the courtyard, they heard old Mistress Zhou and second old Mistress Zhou arguing. Don't think that your Shi family can bully others just because you're rich and powerful. My daughter is at the age of a flower, but she's living as a widow in your family. She can't control her own son and doesn't allow us to divorce. There's no such unreasonable person in this world. Humph, don't be anxious. Isn't it easy to get the letter of divorce? When my son comes back, you don't have to say anything and hand it over. You married such a useless daughter-in-law who can't even control her own husband. Instead of teaching your own daughter properly, you came to our house to make a scene. You still have the cheek. Who are you calling a scene? Your son eloped with a prostitute. Your family's upbringing is obvious. How dare you pick on my daughter's faults? Which of the 3 obedience and 4 virtues did my daughter do wrong? Say it, say it. If she's capable, my son wouldn't have left home until now. You still have the cheek to ask me. Pay. Didn't you raise your son single-handedly? My daughter has only been married for a few days and you're pushing all the blame to her? Do you think the Zhou family is easy to bully? If I knew that your son had an affair with a lowly prostitute, I wouldn't care even if you brought a mountain of gold and silver to my family, much less let my daughter marry into your family. Let me tell you, if you don't give me the letter of divorce today, I'll report you to the yamen. Fine, go ahead and report me. Go ahead if you have the ability. Don't think that I don't dare. Sister-in-law, old Mistress Zhou, let's talk things out. Sit down and talk things out. Wang was getting dizzy from the quarrel and almost couldn't take it anymore. How could old Mistress Zhou and second old Mistress Shi let it go? The more they quarreled, the angrier they got. Old Mistress Zhou was enraged by second old Mistress Shi and immediately ordered her daughter-in-law to follow her to the yamen. Zhou Jinyi panicked and quickly ran in. She held onto her mother's arm and shook her head with tears in her eyes. Mother, I beg of you. Why are you here? Old Mistress Zhou frowned and everyone in the house was stunned. You came at the right time. Let's go, we'll go to the yamen now. I want to see if the prefectural magistrate is reasonable. Old Mistress Zhou took the opportunity to pull Zhou Jingyi away. Mother, I beg of you, please give your daughter some face. Zhou Jingyi was so anxious that tears rolled down her cheeks. She knelt beside old Mistress Zhou and begged her. Old Mistress Zhou took in a breath of cold air and said sternly with her eyes wide open, "You're not willing? Are you not willing?" Zhou Jingyi did not say a word and lowered her head in tears. This was equivalent to admitting to it, and old Mistress Zhou felt that she had lost a lot of face. She flung her sleeves away in embarrassment and stomped her feet angrily. "You unfilial daughter, are you trying to anger me to death? The Shi family humiliated you, and you still want to stay and be humiliated by others. Our Zhou family does not have such a spineless daughter like you." Second old Mistress Shi was delighted and sneered. "In-law, don't say that. Jingyi is sensible. She knows that entering the yamen is not something to be proud of." "Sister-in-law." Wang frowned and shouted. Second old Mistress Shi turned her face away and did not say anything else. Old Mistress Zhou glared at second old Mistress Shi but could not find any words to refute her. Her own daughter slapped her face in front of everyone. What could she do? Forget it, forget it. I've worried for nothing. From today onwards, it doesn't matter if you live or die, I'll take it that I don't have a daughter like you. Daughter-in-law, let's go." "Mother." Zhou Jingyi was ashamed and guilty. She went forward on her knees and hugged old Mistress Zhou's leg as she cried. "What are you crying for? You still have the cheek to cry. The Shi family is so good, you can stay if you want to, but I'm afraid of dirtying my feet. Let go of me." Old Mistress Zhou was furious. Lu Shi could not help but complain. On one side was her mother-in-law and on the other was her sister-in-law. She could not afford to offend either of them. One wrong word would bring trouble to herself. Thus, she tried her best to persuade her mother-in-law but did not know how to do so. All she could do was to say, "Mother-in-law, please calm down." Wang Shi got up and Sang Wan hurriedly went forward to help her up. Wang Shi smiled and advised, "Old mistress, if there's anything, let's discuss it properly. My nephew is still young and immature. When he comes to his senses, he will come back sooner or later. Why must old mistress separate the two of them? The Zhou family is also a reputable family. It won't be good if news of your daughter's separation spreads." Old Mistress Zhou coldly said, "What if your nephew never comes back? Will my daughter be a widow for the rest of her life? Humph. Doesn't your Shi family have businesses all over the world? You've been looking for him for 2 to 3 years and he's still nowhere to be found. Who knows how he is now? We, the Zhou family, would rather lose our face than let our daughter suffer for the rest of her life." Wang Shi was instantly speechless, and second old Mistress Shi was also enraged. Just as she was about to retort, she glanced at her sister-in-law and kept quiet with a gloomy face. Sang Wan leaned over to help Zhou Jingyi up. The clever maidservant at the side quickly came forward to help. Sang Wan smiled and said, "In-law, my sister-in-law can't bear to part with our second young master. It can be seen that he must have treated her well when he was around. Second young master was just muddle-headed for a moment. This is his home, he will come back sooner or later. In-law, why don't you wait patiently? If you divorce today and he comes back tomorrow, wouldn't it be a waste of time for them?" Chapter 2:11. Old Mistress Zhou sized up Sang Wan. Hearing her daughter holding her hand and calling her sister-in-law, she said, "Are you the young mistress of the Shi family?" "Ai, our Jingyi is just a simple-minded and clumsy person. If she had half of your skills and thoughts, she wouldn't have ended up like this. Wait. It's fine for a man to indulge in debauchery, but a woman's prime is fleeting. She can still wait for a few more years." Old Mistress Zhou was referring to how Sang Wan snatched Shi Fengju away from Gu Fengzi not long after her marriage. Many people in the hall understood what she meant and their expressions turned a little strange. Sang Wan also felt a little embarrassed, but pretended not to know and said with a smile, No matter how many years pass, sister-in-law will always be second young master's legal wife. No one can surpass her. For the past 2 years, the Sher family has been looking for second young master and has not slacked off. Auntie-in-law, please be more patient. There will definitely be results. That's right. Old Mistress Zhou. The couple is not heartless. Wouldn't it be a pity to break them up like this? My nephew was just muddle-headed for a moment. After learning this lesson, he will definitely not do it again. By then, wouldn't it be better for the two of them to live a good life? If you bring your daughter home now, those who don't know will think that your daughter is lacking in virtue. If her reputation is ruined, how can she have a good marriage in the future? My words are not pleasant to hear, but think about it, isn't it reasonable? Wang also smiled. Old Mistress Zhou was so angry that her eyes widened again. After thinking about it carefully, she had to admit that Wang was right. If a man fooled around outside, he would be called romantic and elegant. If a woman was not serious, she would be called fickle. Although Shi Fengming was in the wrong in this matter, in the eyes of the world, it was just a harmless romantic affair. Her daughter had only been married for 2 years. If she really divorced and returned home, what Wang Shi said was very likely to happen. There would definitely be people who would say that she was a young woman who couldn't bear the loneliness, or missing a man, and so on. If a pure and innocent daughter was tainted with such rumors, her future would be ruined. Looking at her daughter's teary eyes and pitiful pleading, Madame Zhou sighed in her heart. Even so, we can't just wait endlessly. My daughter can't possibly be a widow for the rest of her life. Madame Zhou snorted coldly. Second old Mistress Shi could not take it anymore and asked angrily, "What do you mean? Are you cursing my son?" "Sister-in-law, madam, let's sit down and discuss this slowly." Calm down. Calm down. No matter how much you quarrel, you won't be able to make a difference, right?" Wang hurriedly interrupted. Sang Wan signaled with her eyes and Xing Ji, Xiu Chun, and the others hurriedly came forward to help the two madams to their seats. Sang Wan also helped Wang to sit down and stood behind her. Lu Shi and Zhou Jingyi stood behind Zhou Furan. "My daughter will wait for another year. If your second young master doesn't come back in a year, first madam, I'll have to trouble you to make the decision and send my daughter back to her parents' home." Old Mistress Zhou's eyes reddened and she wiped her tears. "I'm not an unreasonable person. We're all parents, who doesn't want their children to live well. But I can't just watch my daughter suffer like this. She's a pure and innocent girl. What wrong did she do?" "You..." Second old Mistress Shi was about to speak when Wang glared at her. Wang thought for a while and said, "1 year is a little short. How about 3 years? If my nephew doesn't come back in 3 years, I'll send Jingyi back to her parents' home." There was a particular way to send her back to her parents' home. If the in-laws took the initiative to send her back, it would mean that the in-laws were magnanimous and did not want to waste their daughter-in-law's youth. The daughter-in-law would cry and beg to stay. Even if the in-laws tried to persuade her, the daughter-in-law would return home with tears in her eyes. This way, she would not be criticized by others. This was what old Mistress Zhou meant when she requested for the Shi family to send her daughter back. 3 years is so long. Old Mistress Zhou frowned slightly. Isn't that a little too long? Her daughter was now 18 and would be 21 in 3 years. Of course, she would not be able to get married immediately. She would have to wait for at least another 2 to 3 years, right? By then, she would really be an old lady. If my in-law is unwilling, you can take your daughter back now. Second old Mistress Shi sneered. You. I still think 3 years is too short. Humph, but since my sister-in-law has spoken, I can't say anything. If you're unwilling, you can take her away now. My son can't find a good daughter-in-law. Second old Mistress Shi was also filled with anger. Preposterous, it seems like you don't want to talk nicely? Old Mistress Zhou was furious. You're the one who's being unreasonable. Second old Mistress Shi refused to be outdone. All right. Don't be rash, don't be rash. If you continue arguing, there won't be a conclusion even if the sky turns dark. When Wang Shi heard that the two of them were arguing, she felt a headache coming on. However, when she saw a little girl sticking her head out of the door and looking inside, she couldn't help but get angry. She slammed the tea table and said sternly, "What are you doing sneaking around there? How can the masters speak so unruly like you? Nanny Jiang, take her away and teach her a lesson later. The more relaxed the household is, the more unruly they become." "Old mistress, please spare me." The young lass was so frightened that her face turned pale. She quickly ran in and kowtowed. "Yes, it's young master who asked this servant to quietly invite young mistress out. This servant." Sangwon was embarrassed. She thought to herself, "This lass is so blind. Young master told you to do it quietly, so you did it quietly. How can you be so incompetent?" "Mother." "Then I'll go out and take a look." "I don't know what young master wants." Sangwon smiled. Wang glanced at her and nodded without saying a word. She waved her hand and ordered the young lass, "Leave now." That girl hurriedly complied, got up, and ran away like a wisp of smoke. The moment Sangwon stepped out of the door, she saw Shi Fengju waiting for her in the hall with his hands behind his back. When he saw her, he smiled at her. Sangwon quickly walked over and said with a smile, "Why are you back at this time? What's so urgent that you can't tell me at night? You even chased me all the way to my mother's place." Shi Fengju smiled and habitually raised his hand to put it around her shoulder. Halfway through, he stiffly put it down and said with a smile, "It's an important matter. I originally planned to go directly to second uncle and second aunt to tell them, but when I heard that the Zhou family was here and that there was a commotion, I hurried over. Go in and tell them that there's news about second younger brother." "What?" Sangwon's heart suddenly skipped a beat. She hurriedly said with a smile, "Really? Your news came at the right time. There's a huge commotion inside right now. Quickly go and tell them." Shi Fengju smiled and said, "I just received news that second younger brother seemed to have appeared in Dazhou. I'm going to send someone over to tell second aunt and Madame Zhou not to worry." Sangwon quickly nodded. "I'll go and tell them now. Who knows, second aunt and Madame Zhou might want to ask you personally. Wait for a while before you go." Madame Zhou brought her daughter-in-law along, and since they were all women, Shi Fengju naturally did not want to barge in rashly. Shi Fengju smiled and nodded. Sangwon was also happy for Zhou Jingyi. With this news, all the quarrels could finally stop. Otherwise, who knew when Madame Zhou and second aunt would end their quarrel? Mother-in-law looked very impatient. Sangwon did not go out for long before she came back in with light footsteps and a smile on her face. The smile on her face was especially bright and dazzling. Madame Zhou and second old Mistress Shi felt very uncomfortable when they saw it. Even Wang could not help but frown. What was wrong with Wan Nyang? Even if Fengju doted on her and brought her some treasures, she did not have to smile so brightly in front of a house full of people, right? "Even I can't stand it, let alone them." Wang was just about to reprimand Sangwon when Sangwon came forward to greet her. Her bright eyes swept across second old Mistress Shi and Madame Zhou before smiling. "Mother, second aunt Madame Zhou, Wan Nyang has great news to tell you. Young master said that he has news of second young master." "What? Really?" The three old mistresses were stunned for a moment before they all became happy. "Good, good. That's great. Where's Fengju? Quickly call him in, I want to ask him properly." Second old Mistress Shi could not wait. Madame Zhou immediately calmed down after a moment of shock. She raised her eyebrows suspiciously. "Could it be that your family colluded to fool us?" "What do you mean? Are you hoping that my son won't come back?" Second old Mistress Shi suddenly jumped up. Madame Zhou was not to be outdone. Otherwise, how could it be so coincidental? "But I came today, and all of you said that you have news of him. If this isn't a trap, then what is it?" "Mother." Zhou Jingyi saw that her mother-in-law's face was so dark that she looked like she was about to pounce on her mother to fight. She hurriedly said, "Mother, Big Brother isn't such a person. Besides, he didn't know that we were coming today, so why would he collude with us? Besides, what's the point of colluding with us? Mother, why don't we call Big Brother in and ask him about it? Yes, Jingyi is right. Xiao-chun, quickly call Fengju in. Wang hurriedly said. Sang-won smiled and said, Madame Zhou and sister-in-law must be tired. Mother, why don't your daughter-in-law accompany them to the warm room? Wang thought about it and agreed. Lu Shi was the daughter-in-law of the Zhou family, so it was inconvenient for her to be there. She nodded and said with a smile, Leave this matter to the adults. Please come in and have a seat. Sang-won acknowledged and led Lu Shi and Zhou Jingyi in. Lu Shi smiled gratefully at Sang-won. Zhou Jingyi actually wanted to stay behind to listen to the news, but it was inconvenient to leave her sister-in-law behind, so she could only follow them in. The moment Shi Fengju entered, second old Mistress Shi couldn't wait to ask, Fengju, is there really news of your second brother? Where is he now? Is he doing well? Before she could finish, her voice was choked with sobs. Shi Fengju hurriedly said, Second aunt, don't worry. Since there's news, second brother must be fine. Old Mistress Zhou snorted, I wonder where he is now. When will he be back? This was also the question that second old Mistress Shi was most concerned about. She stared at Shi Fengju nervously. Shi Fengju said, A business friend of mine met him in Dazhou a month ago. I rushed back as soon as I received the news. Second aunt, old Mistress Zhou, don't worry. I will send someone to Dazhou tomorrow to find second brother and bring him back safely. Good. Second old Mistress Shi nodded. Chapter 212. But old Mistress Zhou said, It's best if you can bring him back. After all, it was a month ago. Hopefully, it won't be a waste of effort. What are you saying? What good will it do you if my son doesn't come back? Second old Mistress Shi was furious. Second aunt, old Mistress Zhou, don't worry. Shi Fengju quickly said, Since second brother appeared in Dazhou, even if he left, we will definitely be able to find out where he went. Fengju, second aunt is counting on you. Even if you have to tie him up, you have to bring him back. Second old Mistress Shi cried. Shi Fengju and Wang quickly comforted her. Old Mistress Shi, since there is news of my nephew, shouldn't we put this matter aside for now? Won't everything be solved once we find them? Wang Shi hurriedly said. Old Mistress Zhou's heart was in a mess, and second old Mistress Shi was even more restless. How could she be in the mood to reason with her? She sighed. Fine, then I'll wait for your news. It's getting late, we should take our leave. You mother-in-law and daughter-in-law can go back, but my daughter-in-law has to stay. Second old Mistress Shi quickly said. No. Old Mistress Zhou said coldly, I have to bring my daughter away. When your son comes back, tell him to pick her up personally. It's good to go back first. Wang said, Sister-in-law, Jingyi came in a hurry today and didn't tidy up the house. Let her go back and accompany old Mistress Shi for a few more days. When Fengming comes back, she will naturally come back too. Second old Mistress Shi snorted. Since sister-in-law has already spoken, what else can I say? Too lazy to send her off, she got up and said plainly, I'm a little tired, sister-in-law, I'll take my leave first. Fengju, come with second aunt. Second aunt has something to ask you. Shi Fengju glanced at Wang before bowing to old Mistress Zhou and leaving with second old Mistress Shi. Wang saw that old Mistress Zhou's expression changed and was about to flare up again, so she quickly smiled and said, My sister-in-law is an impatient person. She must be anxious to tell her husband about this. It's a pity that the two of them have been on tenterhooks for 2 years. Now that there's finally news, they can be happy. Madam, please don't take it to heart. Why don't you stay in our residence for the night? It won't be too late to return tomorrow. Only then did Madame Zhou's complexion turn for the better. She shook her head and said, There's no need. If we stay, we will only add to the chaos. Hopefully, we can find young master as soon as possible so that I can be at ease. Exactly. Madam, you're right. Wang secretly sighed in relief when she heard Mrs. Zhou's words. Speaking of which, it was quite tiring for her to deal with such a powerful person. Seeing this, Mama Jiang went into the warm room to summon Sang-wan and the others. The three of them came out and said goodbye to each other. Wang walked them to the entrance of the main courtyard, and Sang-wan personally walked them to the second gate. Before boarding the carriage, old Mistress Zhou suddenly smiled at Sang-wan and said, "In the future, when my Jingyi comes back, please take care of her." This old one would like to thank young Mistress She first. Sang-wan hurriedly dodged and returned the greeting with a smile. "Auntie, you're being too courteous. Jingyi is my sister-in-law, and the two of us get along quite well. There's no need to take care of her." Old Mistress Zhou sighed and said, "Other than being kind, this daughter of mine is really useless. Young Mistress She, you have to guide her more in the future. I mean what I said. If she was half as good as you, she wouldn't have fallen to such a state." "Mother, what nonsense are you talking about? Let's go quickly. Sister-in-law, go ahead and do your work. Don't worry about us." Zhou Jingyi couldn't help but feel embarrassed. When Sang-wan first entered the family, she was also not liked by Shi Fengju. She saw it with her own eyes. Later on, when she heard that the two of them got along well, she was curious and puzzled. But if her mother asked in front of her, wouldn't it be embarrassing for Sang-wan? Old Mistress Zhou also felt that it was a little inappropriate, but as a mother, she only cared about her daughter, so she couldn't care less. She smiled apologetically and said, "Young Mistress Shi, if I said anything wrong, please don't take it to heart. I just feel sorry for my daughter, AI." Sang-wan forced a smile and said, "Madam, you worry too much. Jingyi and I are sisters-in-law, and we will get closer in the future. Jingyi is very good, and I believe that when second young master comes back, he will see how good she is." "Haha, then I'll take advantage of your auspicious words." Old Mistress Zhou smiled. Under her daughter's urging, she finally got on the carriage and left the Shi family. Sang-wan had a lot of things to do on the way back. She reported to Wang that she had sent off the Zhou family's mother-in-law and daughter-in-law before returning to Ning Garden. She originally thought that Shi Fengju would come back to see her after he went to the second branch's residence, but he didn't. In the evening, Chong Huan came in with a message, saying that young master was busy today and might not be back until later. She asked young mistress to have dinner first and not to wait for him. Sang-wan felt uneasy for no reason. After waiting for more than an hour, the sky outside had completely darkened, but Shi Fengju still hadn't returned. "Young mistress, since young master is busy and will be back late, you should have dinner first and not wait for him. If you're hungry, I'm afraid young master will be distressed," Mama Li said. Sang-wan was a little absent-minded and nodded. "All right. I don't have much of an appetite, so I'll just pick 2 dishes and put them on the table. I'll leave some good ones for young master." She then asked what soup she had made today. When she heard that it was Gastrodia elata squab soup, she let it go and ordered Xiaohua to simmer it for Shi Fengju. Mama Li saw that she was so considerate of Shi Fengju in everything and felt sorry for her. She smiled and said, "That soup has been simmering for half a day, so it must taste fragrant and delicious. Old slave, give young mistress a bowl to appease your appetite. How can young master eat so much?" Sang-wan didn't want to reject her good intentions, so she smiled and nodded. After dinner, Shi Fengju still hadn't returned. It wasn't until it was almost time for him to go to bed that he hurriedly came in from outside. Sang-wan had already taken off her hair and taken a bath. Her hair was loosely tied behind her head, and she wore a soft purple robe embroidered with white magnolia over her inner clothes. She hurriedly went out to greet him and said, "Why are you back so late? Won't the sun rise tomorrow? Why do you have to finish everything today?" Shi Fengju took the opportunity to squeeze her hand and said with a smile, "I'll tell you later. I'm a little hungry." Sang-wan said, "The food is being heated up in the kitchen. How about we just put it in the warm room?" Shi Fengju naturally didn't have any objections. He washed his face with the hot water that a maidservant brought over and changed into a loose, homely robe. After dinner, Shi Fengju said to Sangwon, I'm going on a long trip tomorrow. If I'm quick, I won't be back for more than a month. If I'm slow, I won't be back for more than 2 months. You stay at home well. Sangwon's expression immediately changed. Why are you going out so suddenly? Shi Fengju saw her reaction and was both happy and reluctant to part with her. He held her hand and said with a warm smile, I'm going to Dazhou. Second aunt and second uncle are worried about letting others go, so I'll go personally. It'll make them feel at ease. Moreover, second brother is the master. If he refuses to come back no matter what, the servants won't dare to do anything to him. If I see him, I'll bring him back no matter what. Fortunately, the canal has already thawed. I'll take a fast boat and be back soon. You stay at home and help me take care of mother. We'll talk about other things when I come back. Sangwon didn't say anything for a long time. Her mind was still in a blank state. She naturally couldn't persuade him not to go. After a long silence, she nodded and said, Then go and come back early. Be careful on the road. By the way, does mother know about this? Shi Fengju shook his head and said with a smile, After I left second uncle and second aunt's place today, I went to the business to arrange everything. I didn't come back until now. I'll go tell mother later. Sangwon forced a smile and said, Then go. I told you to come back early to rest. I'll help you pack your things so you can bring them on the road tomorrow. Shi Fengju smiled and nodded. He suddenly stretched out his arms and pulled her into his embrace. He lowered his head and kissed her cheeks a few times. He said in a low voice, Wan Yang, I usually don't feel like going out, but now I feel like I don't want to be separated from you at all. Wait for me to come back. Sangwon's mind was also a little empty. She nodded reluctantly and said with a smile, Hurry up and go to mother's place. Come back early to rest. Shi Fengju smiled and then let go of her. When Wang heard that he would be away for a month or 2 tomorrow, she immediately felt unhappy. She said with a fierce face, Why are you so anxious? Finding someone is important, but your body isn't important? You don't even have enough time to pack your luggage tonight. Don't try to make me say good things about your second aunt. Her son is your son, but other people's sons are not your sons. She must have instigated you. You too, why did you listen to her? Mother. Shi Fengju smiled and said, What's the difference between 2 days earlier and 2 days later? Wan Yang will help me pack, and I can just buy the rest when I get back. It's not my first time going out, I know what to do. Second aunt and second uncle have been thinking about second brother for so long. It's better for everyone if second brother comes back early. Wang was still unhappy and complained a lot more. Seeing that her son had already made up his mind, she knew that she could not persuade him otherwise, so she gave him another round of advice. Shi Fengju did not mind her nagging and nodded with a smile as he listened to her. All right. I won't talk to you any more. Since you have to hurry up tomorrow morning, you should go back and rest. You'll be resting on the boat tomorrow night, AI. As Wang spoke, she could not help but complain about second old Mistress Shi. Shi Fengju agreed with a smile and said, Mother, there's one more thing. Cousin will be back in 2 days, right? Wang's eyes flashed and she stared at him suspiciously. Yes, she'll naturally be back after the ritual. Where else could she have gone? Let's not talk about that for now, we'll see when you're back. Shi Fengju said, Mother, Wan Yang has also tried to persuade me, but I really don't want to take in a cousin. It's fine as long as you know this, we'll talk about the rest when I'm back. I've already told Wan Yang to take good care of you when I'm not around. Wang felt a wave of frustration in her heart. She did not know what was wrong with her son, but since it was not the time to talk about it, she nodded and said, Then we'll talk about it when you're back. She then snorted and looked at him. Don't think that I'm really old and muddle-headed. Even if we don't talk about it, I'll still feel tired for you. Don't worry, I won't eat your wife when you're not home. I'll definitely make her wait for you to come back. Chapter 213. When she arrived at Peony Park, she changed her clothes and combed her hair. Her entire appearance seemed to have changed, as if she had been reborn. She wore a light yellow dress with a thin layer of makeup on her face, making her look exceptionally beautiful. After Gu Fengzi finished tidying up, she went to Wang to flatter her and coax Wang to no end. During lunch, she naturally served and ate at Wang's place. Although she was no longer in mourning, she still chose to eat light vegetarian dishes. When Wang saw this, her heart ached. She ordered a servant to serve her a bowl of ham, bamboo shoots, and chicken soup. She smiled gently and said, "Eat more delicious food to nourish your body. You're still growing, so how can you only eat vegetarian dishes? You'll only harm your body. What's done is done, so don't think about it. As a person, you have to look forward." "Thank you for your concern, Auntie." Gu Fengzi's eyes reddened. She pulled on Wang's sleeve and gently shook it. She affectionately said, "Right now, in this world, I only have you, Auntie, as my elder relative. I only hope that Auntie will live a long life of 100 years and have good fortune. That way, I can be filial to you for the rest of my life and repay your kindness. You have good intentions, Auntie naturally knows. Hee, there's Auntie for everything." Wang was moved. She gently patted her hand and urged her to drink the soup while it was still hot. Gu Fengzi smiled sweetly. She obediently drank the soup and ate the meal. She accompanied Wang for a stroll in the courtyard. After chatting for a while, Gu Fengzi smiled and said, "Auntie, since I've returned from the temple, my Peony Park should be renovated and tidied up. It'll be good to have a new and auspicious atmosphere. It's just that everything is stored in the storeroom. It'll take 2 or 3 days to clean and tidy it up. I think I'll go to the guest room to rest for the next 2 or 3 days. I'll freeload at Auntie's place during the day." "Auntie, please don't dislike me." Wang smiled and said, "How could I dislike you? Didn't you all eat with me when you were young?" "You are quite right. It is time to rearrange the garden for a new atmosphere. Not only in the house, but also in the garden, the gardeners should replant the plants. This is the perfect season. In my opinion, you don't have to stay in the guest room. You can rest here tonight. It's cheap." That was what Gu Fengzi had in mind. That was why she purposely said that she was here to freeload. Hearing Wang Shi's words, Gu Fengzi was delighted and quickly said with a smile, "If Aunt Wang doesn't find me annoying, then I'll take advantage of you." "You're so talkative." Wang scolded jokingly. The two of them looked at each other and burst into laughter. After Wang took her afternoon nap, Gu Fengzi took Lan Xiang to Ning Garden. Mama Li's face darkened when she heard that Gu Fengzi was here. She sneered and said, "I knew she was a restless person." The moment she came back, she gave young mistress a show of strength. She clearly came back a long time ago and should have come to see you when she saw old mistress. But she only came at this time. In this old servant's opinion, we should leave her outside for at least an hour to suppress her arrogance. That way, she won't know the immensity of heaven and earth. As he said that, he ordered Jida to go out and pass down the message that young mistress was not free at the moment and asked her to wait. "Forget it, let her come in." Sangwon shook her head and smiled at Mama Li. She said, "Although she didn't come, she has been accompanying Mother in the main courtyard. It can be considered filial. How can I fight with Mother? If I don't see her now, who knows what she will say? When that time comes, I'm afraid Mother won't be happy. Let her come, we'll just see her once and send her away." Mama Li laughed and said, "Young mistress, you are the one who understands." Old Slave was angered by her until he became muddle-headed. Only then did Xingji go out to pass on the message. Gu Fengzi and Lan Xiang waited at the door for a while but did not see anyone coming out. Lan Xiang was a little nervous and whispered to Gu Fengzi, "Young mistress, is young mistress angry and purposely making things difficult for young mistress?" Gu Fengzi sneered, "That's just right. Moreover, she's the legal wife, so it's only right." Before she could finish speaking, Xingji had already walked over with light steps and smiled as she invited the master and servant to enter. Gu Fengzi smiled and nodded as she followed behind Xing Ji. Thinking carefully, it seemed that she had not stepped into Ning Garden for a long time. Looking at this familiar yet somewhat unfamiliar place, Gu Fengzi was a little dazed for a moment. There were many roses in the courtyard. On both sides of the courtyard and under the corridor, there were roses planted on the ground and also in flower pots. Red, yellow, white, pink, and orange were blooming beautifully, especially the bright red ones. The flowers were plump and had double petals that swayed in the wind. It was very bright and beautiful. Gu Fengzi's footsteps paused and she asked Xing Ji with a smile, "When did you plant so many roses? It's so lively when it's open." Xing Ji smiled faintly and replied, "In reply to young mistress, they were planted before the new year. Young mistress likes them, so young master specially sent people to get them from all over the place. You didn't see them during the new year, but there were even more than this. The vases and flower pots in the house were all filled with roses and the whole house was filled with their fragrance." Gu Fengzi's smile froze and she forced a smile as she replied with an "oh." Her heart felt sour as if there was a hand fiercely clenching it. Why did she ask this? She deserved to cause trouble for others. Gu Fengzi forcefully suppressed the sourness in her heart and calmly entered the house. Entering the warm room, she curtsied to Sang Wan with a smile. "Greetings to older sister. I should have come over earlier, but I accompanied Aunt and spoke a few more words. Aunt also left me a meal. I didn't expect that I would come at this time. I was afraid that older sister would blame me, so I rushed over. I hope that older sister won't take offense. It's just a small matter. How could I blame you? Mother likes you, so you should spend more time with mother. It can be considered as being filial to young master and me. I can't thank you enough." Sang Wan smiled faintly. Gu Fengzi heard this and felt extremely uncomfortable. She smiled and said, "I'm relieved that older sister doesn't blame me. Aunt's kindness to me is as heavy as a mountain, so I should be filial to her. Older sister thanking me for this, I don't dare accept it." Sang Wan smiled and didn't refute. She smiled and said, "Since you're no longer in mourning, Peony Park should naturally be redecorated. Everyone has their own preferences, and I'm limited in what I can do. Moreover, there are other matters in the manor that need to be taken care of, so you'll have to trouble yourself. The things from before are all in the storeroom, and the booklet is also in your hands. You can go and find someone to open the storeroom and take it. I'll have Mama Lee help you from the side. After all, she was the one who tidied up your courtyard. What do you think?" Sang Wan had already said it so clearly, so what else could Gu Fengzi do? She couldn't ask Sang Wan to personally decorate her courtyard. That was fine, but she also had to keep Mama Lee on the side to keep an eye on her. Gu Fengzi couldn't help but feel annoyed. But before she could say anything, Mama Lee had already stepped forward to salute Sang Wan and said, "Young mistress, don't worry. Old slave will definitely arrange everything properly and won't trouble young mistress. Old slave may be old now, but he's not muddle-headed. It's not that old slave is boasting, but when the old slave does things, even eldest madam has never found fault with him." "That's natural," Sang Wan smiled and said to Gu Fengzi, "What do you think?" Gu Fengzi smiled gratefully. "I couldn't ask for anything more from Mama personally doing the work. I'm feeling ashamed, so how could I have any objections? Then that's it, I'll have to trouble Mama." "That's right, older sister. Peony Park hasn't been tidied up yet, so it's not convenient for me to move in. Aunt said to let me stay with her for a few days, so I'm afraid it won't be convenient for me to come and greet older sister this morning. Older sister, please forgive me." Mama Lee's brows furrowed slightly when she heard this. She was both shocked and annoyed. She didn't expect Gu Fengzi to curry favor with eldest madam right after she returned today. Sang Wan was very calm about this. Who knew how many times her mother-in-law had nagged her about how to treat Gu Fengzi, this younger sister. She had always been protective of her, so it wasn't a big deal for her to stay with her. She responded indifferently and sent Gu Fengzi away. "This vixen is really shameless." Mama Lee spat at Gu Fengzi's back as she left, eldest young master isn't home, so she doesn't want to waste her energy. She actually set her sights on eldest madam. Mama, Sangwon smiled and sighed. Don't be angry, it's not worth it to harm your body. Mother has always doted on her, and Peony Park needs to be tidied up. It's not a big deal to have her stay for a few days. What do you mean it's not a big deal? Mama Lee became anxious and said, The servants will see. Eldest young mistress. Think about it. She has eldest madam by her side to eat and live with her as soon as she returns. Isn't that doting in the eyes of the servants? They're so short-sighted, they might even think that you've fallen out of favor. She's always been scheming and knows how to buy people's hearts. Moreover, she's not an outsider without foundation in this fu. Who knows what she'll do? Sangwon hadn't thought about this at first. After hearing Mama Lee's words, she was slightly startled. Mama Lee saw her like this and regretted making things difficult for her. She hurriedly smiled and said, Old slave was just saying that. It's actually not a big deal. However, it can be seen that her heart isn't pure. We just have to be alert and guard against her. Don't take it to heart. Focus on taking care of your body. As for the other miscellaneous matters, there's old slave, Xingji, and Luya to take care of. Sangwon's head relaxed as expected. She smiled gratefully and said, It's still Mama who treats me the best. Mama Lee chuckled and said, Before eldest young master left, he instructed old slave to take good care of eldest young mistress. Old slave remembers it. Sangwon's eyes dimmed slightly, and she forced a smile. She didn't know where that person was now. Mama Lee also regretted her slip of the tongue. She shouldn't have mentioned Shi Fengju to stir up her worries. She hurriedly smiled and changed the topic. As for the rearrangement of Peony Park, Gu Fengzi didn't make any trouble. She only went to take a look around every day. She checked her previous things and didn't see anything missing. Everything was decided by Mama Lee. Gu Fengzi wasn't willing, but she knew that eldest cousin had told her to remember her identity many times. He wanted her to remember, so she naturally had to remember. She didn't want to leave any evidence that could be used against her when he came back. Mama Lee was previously on guard, so she was surprised to see her like this. However, during this period, something that wasn't too big or too small happened. The cause was that Gu Fengzi was talking with Wang. For some reason, they started talking about bubble shell pastries. This was one of Wang's favorite pastries. However, it was more complicated to make, so she usually wouldn't ask someone to make it. Today, her appetite was aroused by Gu Fengzi. Wang couldn't help but mutter a few words. Gu Fengzi smiled and said, It's rare for Aunt to think of something to eat all year round. Since you want to eat it, just ask the kitchen to make it. Thanks to Aunt, I can also try something new. Chapter 2:14. When Wang heard this, she was very happy and joked with Gu Fengzi, You're such a clever monkey. I think you want this more than I do. You're so generous. The maidservants and grannies all laughed. Gu Fengzi also laughed and complained, Aunt, you're wrongly accusing me. I only said that because Aunt likes it. Since that's the case, how about I be filial to Aunt this time? She didn't wait for Wang to speak and told Lan Xiang to go to the kitchen to inform them. Lan Xiang agreed and went. She had already received Gu Fengzi's instructions and naturally knew what to say. When she went to the kitchen, she didn't mention Wang at all. She only said that the young miss wanted to make soaked snail pastries and told the kitchen to make them and wait for her to pick them up. The money would be put on the young miss's account. How could the kitchen know that this was actually the old mistress's dessert? When she heard that Gu Fengzi wanted it, she was a bit lazy. When she saw Lan Xiang's arrogant and bossy tone, she was even more unhappy. She impolitely said, Miss Lan Xiang, this soaked snail pastries are troublesome to make. I don't have time right now. Let's wait a few days. Who knew that before she finished speaking, Lan Xiang had already run off. She didn't know if she heard her or not. The kitchen servant said, Blind, and didn't argue. She just thought that she heard it and turned around to forget about it and busy herself with other things. Ever since the young Mrs. mourning period ended, the young master almost never went to see her. Instead, he spent all his time looking after the young mistress. Now that the young mistress was in charge of the household, how could the servants not understand her? Why would he care about a concubine who had lost her power? The result of this matter was obvious. Wang was furious. She was the grand old mistress of the household. She couldn't even eat a simple dessert? How could this be? She immediately called the kitchen maid who was on duty over and gave her a scolding. Gu Fengzi, on the other hand, kept apologizing and saying things that were clearly fanning the flames, which made Wang Shi even angrier. Only now did the cook realize that it was the first madam who wanted to eat the soaked snail cakes. She couldn't help but secretly complain, cursing Lan Xiang in her heart. But at this time, who would dare to argue that Lan Xiang did not make things clear? If he said this now, he was afraid that the punishment would be even heavier. She had no choice but to kowtow and beg for mercy. She insisted that she was too busy to remember and would make up for it tomorrow. She begged First Madam for mercy. Even Sang Wan was alarmed and hurried over to ask what was going on. Wang had a belly full of anger and had nowhere to vent it. When she saw her, she sneered and said, "This family is in your hands, but you've managed it well. Every one of them is well disciplined. I couldn't even eat a dessert if I wanted to. I had to wait for the kitchen to be free. Take a look at the good deed you've done." Sang Wan was shocked and immediately knelt down. She raised her head and said, "Mother, what do you mean? Daughter-in-law serves mother wholeheartedly and has never had the slightest bit of negligence. Mother, please understand. Perhaps sister-in-law Su misheard. Mother, don't be angry. I'll have her make it tomorrow." "No need." Wang sneered and said, "How could I eat it? Besides, isn't it just a dessert? It doesn't matter if I eat it or not. Don't delay other people's proper work." When sister-in-law Su heard this, her heart began to beat wildly. She repeatedly kowtowed and begged for mercy. "Mother, what are you saying? It's all because this daughter-in-law didn't discipline her properly and caused this disturbance for no reason. I've made mother angry. When eldest young master left home, he repeatedly told me to serve mother well and make sure that mother can live comfortably. Who would have thought that something like this would happen after he left home for only a few days? This daughter-in-law is truly ashamed. Mother, if you say this again, this daughter-in-law will be even more ashamed. You're the first madam of the manor and the head of the manor. Who in the entire manor would dare to be disrespectful to you? Unless they don't want to live anymore. There must be a misunderstanding. Mother, if you get angry because of this misunderstanding, not only will you feel bad, but this daughter-in-law will also feel bad. Mother, please calm down, okay?" Sang Wan hurriedly begged again. Wang Shi also thought about it. That's right, her son and daughter-in-law had always been filial. She was also the eldest sister-in-law of the same generation. Other than the few memorial tablets in the ancestral hall, who else could surpass her? Which servant would dare to be disrespectful to her? She was afraid that there really was a misunderstanding. Mama Li saw that Wang's expression had softened and she was silent. She went forward and said with a smile, "That's right, young mistress. Eldest young mistress is right. Not to mention anything else, the person who went to pass the message wasn't someone from the main courtyard. It was Lan Xiang. A moment of carelessness in the kitchen can't be blamed on them. I don't know how Lan Xiang passed the message and if she made it clear." Before Mama Li finished speaking, sister-in-law Su seemed to have grasped at a life-saving straw. She hurriedly said, "Miss Lan Xiang only told the old slave to quickly make the bubble shell pastries. She didn't say that the first madam wanted them. At the time, the old slave still had some things to do. He said that he would make them tomorrow." Who knew? Auntie Su was quick-witted. She changed the topic from, "Let's wait a few days," to, "We'll do it tomorrow." Lan Xiang was furious. She glared at Auntie Su, but couldn't refute her. Because she ran away after giving the order. When she told Wang and Gu Fengzi that she had already given the order, Wang naturally thought that since she had given the order, they would do it. Who knew that sister-in-law Su would say that Lan Xiang had deliberately concealed the truth? If she had told Wang that she would make them tomorrow, Wang wouldn't be so angry. Sister-in-law Su, don't say any more. Gu Fengzi gently cut off sister-in-law Su's words and nodded apologetically to her. This is all my fault. I didn't think of it that way. I didn't think that I'm just a guest now. My words naturally don't carry any weight. If I had known, I would have told Lan Xiang to make it clear that it was my aunt who wanted it. Then, this misunderstanding wouldn't have happened. She was indirectly saying that sister-in-law Su was disrespectful to her. Sister-in-law Su's expression changed slightly. Before she could speak, Mama Li casually said, Miss Gu is right about one thing. If Lan Xiang had made it clear, there wouldn't have been a misunderstanding. The kitchen was really busy yesterday. Did Miss Gu forget? Yesterday, we had to make a big sacrifice for the Shi family's ancestral hall. Miss Gu's father also had to make a sacrifice. Everyone in the kitchen was as busy as a spinning top. Sister-in-law Su said to make soaked shell pastries tomorrow. The old slave doesn't think there's anything wrong with that. Wang was originally furious when she heard Gu Fengzi's words. Just as she was about to throw a tantrum, she heard Mama Li's words and kept quiet. Every time Shi Fengju went out on a long journey, on the 1st and 15th day of the lunar month or the birthday of some deity, they would have to make a sacrifice to their ancestors so that they could bless Shi Fengju's safety and smoothness. This was something that Wang had personally instructed many years ago. Until now, it had been done accordingly. Her son's safety was naturally more important than her soaked shell pastries. How could she neglect the important matters of her ancestors? Lan Xiang could only kneel down and bow her head. This servant was rushing back to report to old mistress and Mississippi. I didn't hear what sister-in-law Su said after that. Then, this is a misunderstanding. Miss, what do you think? Let sister-in-law Su do it tomorrow. It's not worth it for Miss to be angry over such a small matter. Mama Li smiled. Sister-in-law Su quickly kowtowed to show her sincerity. Wang waved her hand and sighed with a frown. Forget it, forget it. There's no need to make it tomorrow. I don't have the appetite. Get up. Wan Yang, you get up as well. In the future, all of you have to be more reliable. Don't be so careless and make others angry for no reason. Everyone quickly agreed. Mama Li went forward to help Sang Wan up. Gu Fengzi also went forward and helped Sang Wan up with Mama Li. She smiled and said, It's all my fault. Lan Xiang, that girl, didn't do things properly and caused elder sister to be wronged. Later, I will definitely teach her a lesson. Elder sister is in charge of so many things in the Fu. It's no wonder that you've neglected one or two things. It's really been hard on elder sister. Younger sister has also caused trouble for elder sister. Younger sister feels very apologetic. Please be magnanimous and forgive younger sister this time. Younger sister apologizes to elder sister. After that, she took 2 steps back and curtsied. Sang Wan could not help but be secretly angry. She smiled faintly and said, Younger sister, you're being too serious. It's just a misunderstanding. What grievance do I have? Instead, I've implicated mother and ruined mother's mood. It's my negligence. Sang Wan looked at Wang and smiled. Mother, you're the magnanimous one. Please forgive your daughter-in-law this time. Wang could not help but laugh and sighed. Forget it, forget it. Let's not talk about this anymore. Normally, with so many things in the Fu, it's normal for you to have neglected 1 or 2 things. Mother only said that in a fit of anger, so don't take it to heart. In the future, the servants will have to be taught a lesson so that they won't become careless after living comfortably for too long. Also, Fengzi is also a mistress in the Fu. Her words are also words. If anyone dares to not take it seriously in the future, I won't let it go. Wang originally wanted to ask Gu Fengzi to help Sang Wan manage the household, but she suddenly remembered what her son said before he left. It was obvious that he did not want Gu Fengzi to be involved in the Fu's affairs. Thus, she held back the words that were on the tip of her tongue. Sang Wan and Mama Li secretly heaved a sigh of relief. Sang Wan respectfully agreed and bid farewell to Mama Li. She also took Auntie Sue with her. If Wang were to give power to Gu Fengzi in this situation, who knows how many people in the Fu would have other thoughts. Even if she did not give power, her last sentence was to protect Gu Fengzi. Gu Fengzi hurriedly coaxed Wang Shi with sweet words, and finally, Wang Shi was in a good mood and laughed heartily. Gu Fengzi, on the other hand, was secretly depressed. She originally thought that her aunt would let her help manage the household, but now that De Biao was not around, there was no one who understood the foundation of the Fu better than her. As long as she casually made some moves, Sang Wan would suffer a few losses and lose favor in front of her aunt. Even if De Biao were to return, everything would be set in stone. Unexpectedly, her aunt was about to say something, but for some reason, she did not say anything. She had put in so much effort to create this scene, but it was all in vain. Fortunately, after this incident, everyone saw how much her aunt cared about her. For the time being, no one would dare to look down on her. This was better than nothing. Gu Fengzi stayed at Wang's place for 4 days before moving back to Peony Park. She claimed that Mama Li had worked hard, and to express her gratitude, she specially asked Lan Xiang to reward Mama Li with money and clothes. Mama Li was surprised. She thought that the sun had risen from the west. Chapter 2:15. A servant naturally couldn't refuse a reward from a master. Mama Li accepted it and had no choice but to personally go to Peony Park to express her gratitude. Gu Fengzi received Nanny Li with a smile, which was out of character. She called Nanny Li intimately, which gave Nanny Li goosebumps. Gu Fengzi wanted Mama Li to stay for a meal, but Mama Li said that she had something to do and hurriedly left. After thinking about it, she felt that Gu Fengzi was being unaccountably solicitous. After pondering for a while, she slapped her thigh and felt that she understood her actions. She couldn't help but secretly grit her teeth. This scoundrel, she was doing it on purpose for young mistress to see and make young mistress suspicious of her. Thinking of this, Mama Li couldn't sit still anymore and immediately brought the things Gu Fengzi gave her to Sang Wan. She dismissed the servants and said, "Young mistress, this is a reward from Miss Gu to Old Slave." She said that Old Slave had worked hard to tidy up the house for her. Old Slave thought that Old Slave was only doing his duty and did so under young mistress's orders. Old Slave doesn't dare to accept this reward, so young mistress should handle it. Sang Wan smiled slightly and got up to pull Mama Li to sit down. She smiled and said, "Mama, there's no need to be like this. Mama is young master's wet nurse and has always taken care of Wan Nyang. Wan Nyang is very clear about what kind of person Mama is. Since it's a reward from Miss Gu, Mama should enjoy it with peace of mind. You tidied up the house for her, so it's normal for her to express her gratitude." Mama Li sighed in relief and hurriedly said, "It's good that young mistress understands. Old Slave only recognizes young mistress in his heart. Don't even think about the evil spirits, foxy charms, and crooked ways." Before young master left home, he had instructed the Old Slave to serve young mistress well and not let young mistress suffer. Nanny's kindness to Wan Yang is something that Wan Yang doesn't know. Sang Wan felt warmth in her heart and smiled gratefully. If she succeeds in sowing discord, Nanny's protection of Wan Yang would be in vain. "Nanny, please don't think too much." As she spoke, she glanced at the fine silk and said with a smile, "Since it's her kind intentions, it's only right for Mama to accept it." With young mistress's words, the Old Slave is relieved. Mama Li was also delighted. She smiled and said, "Young mistress is right. Since we haven't done anything wrong, we don't need to be afraid of ghosts knocking on our door. Since they're offering it to us, we should accept it." "That's right." The two looked at each other and smiled. Early the next morning, Sang Wan had just gotten up, combed her hair and washed her face to prepare for breakfast when a servant came in and reported, "Young mistress, Miss Gu has come to pay her respects." The concubines of large families often had to pay their respects to the main wife early in the morning. If they met a strict main wife, they would have to rush to help her change clothes and wash up. After that, they would be led by the main wife to pay their respects to the elders in the family. If it was a lowly concubine, they wouldn't even have the chance to pay their respects to the elders in the family. They could only accompany the main wife and wait outside the elders' courtyard. Sangwon couldn't help but be slightly startled when she heard this. She subconsciously frowned. She knew that Gu Fengzi wasn't doing this to respect her or to curry favor with her. Instead, she was here to take on the identity of a concubine. Sangwon suddenly felt very uncomfortable. She knew that Gu Fengzi wouldn't be obedient when Shi Fengju wasn't around. Young mistress, since she's here, let her in. Otherwise, it wouldn't be good if word got out. We can't just let her wait at the door like this. Mama Li went forward and said. Sangwon reluctantly nodded her head. Not a moment later, Gu Fengzi came in with Lan Xiang. She was wearing a yellow jacket embroidered with bamboo leaves and a beige pleated skirt with plum branches. Her hair was combed and there was a jasper hairpin with pearls embedded in it. The ends of the silver tassels were different in length. There were 3 strands each with a red gem the size of a little finger. It was fresh and elegant with a touch of beauty. Greetings to elder sister. Gu Fengzi went forward with a smile and curtsied to Sangwon. However, her slender waist wasn't soft at all. Instead, it seemed to be straight and wouldn't bend down. When Sangwon heard this elder sister, it was especially harsh. She raised her hand and said, "You don't have to come so early in the future. Come after breakfast. After that, you can go to mother's place to greet her." When Gu Fengzi heard her commanding tone, she felt very uncomfortable. She secretly scolded her for being pretentious, but she had no choice but to obediently agree. She smiled and said, "Elder sister is so considerate. It's younger sister's good fortune. Since elder sister has said so, younger sister will naturally do as elder sister says." Sangwon nodded. If they were to have breakfast now, she would have to ask her to stay. However, Sangwon felt that she couldn't eat in front of her and was too lazy to eat. She told her to sit by herself and went into the warm room. When it was about time, they went to Wang's place together. When Wang saw the two of them coming together, she was very happy and specially said a few good words to Sangwon. When Sangwon saw this, she secretly complained. Wang was really treating the two of them as sisters. How could this be? If she waited until Shi Fengju came back and brought up the old matter, wouldn't Wang hate her to death? Sangwon thought about it and said with a smile, "Mother, your daughter-in-law isn't that particular. In the future, younger sister doesn't have to go to my place to greet her. She can come directly to mother's place. It's rare that you like younger sister. Let her accompany you more." After thinking about it, Sangwon still felt that it was better for Gu Fengzi to stay as far away from her as possible. It would be best if they didn't have to meet. In the future, no matter what Shi Fengju did, it would prevent others from blaming her. When Wang heard Sangwon say this, how could she refuse? She naturally smiled and said yes. Gu Fengzi originally didn't want to go to her place to greet her. It was enough that she had done it once, so she agreed. In the blink of an eye, more than half a month had passed. The smell of spring was very strong. Under the warm spring sun, swallows flew and cut the willows. Orioles chirped. The garden was colorful and the air was filled with the rich fragrance of flowers. Everything was filled with the vitality of life. Shi Fengju's letter finally reached Sangwon's hands. There were a total of 2 letters. One was written, "To Mother," and was officially addressed to Wang. The other was written, "To my wife," and was naturally addressed to Sangwon. After receiving these 2 letters, Sangwon's heart, which had been gloomy for the past few days, suddenly became happy. She put away her letter and didn't dare to delay. She hurriedly took the other letter to the main courtyard to report to Wang. "Mother, eldest young master has sent a letter. I'm afraid he's already in Dazhou." At Wang's place, Gu Fengzi was talking to her. When she heard the news, she was very surprised. She beamed and said, Amitabha, that's good, that's good. Quickly read it to me. Sangwon smiled and agreed. She opened the letter and read it. Indeed, he was already in Dazhou. He said that after asking around, Shi Fengming had indeed appeared in Dazhou. However, he was currently missing. Now, he was asking people to look for him. Perhaps there would be results soon. He asked them to stay at home and take care of themselves. Wang nodded and sighed. Since Shi Fengming appeared in Dazhou, there's an 80% chance that he can be found this time. Even if we can't find him, at least we know that he's safe and sound. This is also good news. Later, go and see your second aunt personally and tell her this news. Yes, mother. As Sangwon spoke, she put the letter back into the envelope and handed it to Wang. This was Wang's letter, so it was naturally inconvenient for her to keep it. She smiled and asked, Mother, I'll write a reply to eldest young master when I get back. Does mother have anything to say? Wang glanced at her and chuckled. Tell him to take care of himself outside. Although the weather is warm, it'll be cold in the morning and evening. It'll be bad if he forgets to wear more clothes and catches a cold. Also, take care of his safety. Leave the task of looking for him to the servants. Don't tire yourself out. We're all waiting for him to come back soon. Sangwon smiled and agreed. Gu Fengzi saw that Shi Fengju didn't mention her at all in the letter. She was very unhappy. At this moment, she smiled and said, Older sister, I also have a few words to say to eldest cousin. Is that okay? Sangwon naturally didn't like it. In front of Wang, she could only smile and nod. Younger sister, just say what you want to say. Gu Fengzi thought for a moment, then smiled and said, Forget it, I won't trouble older sister. I'll write it myself later. I'll have to trouble older sister to send it out together. Eldest cousin hadn't seen her for a long time. Perhaps he had forgotten that she was already out of mourning. He didn't ask about her, but she still cared about him. She wanted to let him know her feelings for him. That's fine. I'll send this letter the day after tomorrow. Younger sister, bring it to Ning Garden for me at the latest tomorrow night. Sangwon said with a smile. With the other letter still on her mind, Sangwon said a few words before returning to Ning Garden 1. She entered the warm room alone and dismissed everyone. She took out the letter from her chest. Only then did she feel that her heart was beating wildly. Her hands were also slightly trembling. She couldn't help but panic. Opening the letter, there was a folded piece of snow-white paper inside. Sangwon gently unfolded it. The elegant handwriting that was like floating clouds and flowing water came into view. After reading a few lines, Sangwon suddenly closed the letter. The hand that was holding the letter unconsciously covered her chest. Her face flushed red. She could clearly feel her heart beating wildly in her chest. She knew that he would definitely say something private to her. However, she didn't know that this was not only private, but also, it made her blush and her heart beat faster. This person was becoming more and more shameless. Sangwon felt both embarrassed and happy. Even though there was no one beside her, she still felt as if there were countless pairs of eyes staring at her. She couldn't help but feel a sense of guilt. The letter in her hand made her feel even more conflicted. She wanted to read it, but she didn't dare. She didn't know that at this time, her face was flushed red. Her watery eyes were sparkling, and the corners of her mouth were slightly raised with an intoxicating smile. She could be described as enchanting and charming. She was as gorgeous as a hibiscus flower that had just bloomed. Sangwon took a deep breath. Finally, she couldn't resist the temptation. She gently unfolded the letter in her hand and read it from beginning to end. The smile on her lips didn't disappear. She couldn't help but mutter something from time to time. She was cursing that shameless lecher. After reading the letter, she was stunned. Her face turned completely red. She threw the letter away like it was a hot potato. She gritted her teeth and cursed, "This bastard, this bastard." You're tuning in to the Narrate and Escape YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.